Chapter 994. Since our strengths are about the same, it doesn't matter. Let's go and meet the golden-horned demonic god. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. All right. Zhu Ganglai chuckled and his eyes glinted with eagerness. He brought Ling Xiao and flew toward one of the mountain peaks. The 3 mountain peaks were tens of thousands of feet tall and towered into the depths of the void. They were filled with blazing star fire and endless starlight shone down, making the 3 mountain peaks look like they were made of glass. They were crystal clear. The star fire was obviously the power that erupted from the ceiling formation that sealed the 3 demonic gods. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly and he pointed his finger. Suddenly, a ray of devouring fire turned into a rainbow bridge and shot into the depths of the mountain peaks. Ling Xiao and the other 2 stepped onto the rainbow bridge and headed toward the mountain peaks. In the middle of the mountain, there was a huge cave. Dark demon chi was faintly escaping from it and Ling Xiao could feel a strong sealing power. That should be where the golden-horned demonic god was sealed. Swoosh! Ling Xiao and the other 2 instantly flew into the cave and landed in the depths of the mountain peaks. The surrounding mountain walls shone brightly like crystals and there were mysterious runes flashing. Ling Xiao and the other 2 flew down for tens of thousands of feet and landed on a stone platform. In front of them was a huge underground cave. 36 demon-sealing tombstones were intertwined and formed 36 colorful chains that pierced through the body of a demonic god. The demonic god looked to be hundreds of feet tall and was covered in golden light. He had golden scales and a huge golden horn on his head. He looked like an ape with a ferocious face and closed eyes. There was no sign of life and he looked as though he was dead. However, Ling Xiao could feel that the golden-horned demonic god still had a strong life force and the power in his body was boundless. Swoosh! The golden-horned demonic god opened his eyes and shot out 2 rays of golden divine light that contained a cold and bloodthirsty aura. I smell the aura of the human tribe. Despicable human tribe, are you here to let me out? The deep and cold voice reverberated throughout the cave like thunder, causing everyone's ears to buzz. The golden-horned demonic god stared at Ling Xiao and Shui Wei. His eyes were filled with greed and desire. At the same time, he also glanced at Zhu Ganglai. He felt a very familiar aura from Zhu Ganglai's body, but he could not remember it. This made him confused. Let you out? After being sealed for 1,000,000 years, your brain must not be working properly, right? Golden-horned demonic god, we are here today to kill you. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Kill me? Pa. The golden-horned demon god was stunned. Suddenly, he burst into laughter, his eyes filled with mockery. You're just 2 humans who haven't even reached the divine realm. You want to kill me? The golden-horned demonic god could tell that Ling Xiao and Shui Wei were only at the honorable realm. In his eyes, they were just like ants. If he was at his peak, he could crush them with one hand. It's not a good thing to always be looked down upon. However, all you need to know is that you will die today. Ling Xiao was a little helpless. After being sealed for so long, these demonic gods were indeed not working properly. However, Ling Xiao and Shui Wei's cultivation were not high. If an ordinary person wanted to kill a demonic god, it would be wishful thinking. However, the golden-horned demonic god did not know Ling Xiao's true fighting strength. It could not be measured by cultivation. Human, you are arrogant. If you want to kill me, come on in. I would like to see what right you have to be so arrogant. The golden-horned demonic god stared at Ling Xiao coldly. His entire body exuded an extremely violent energy. The energy was vast and powerful. Although it was suppressed by the demon sealing tablet, it was still extremely terrifying. Master, be careful. Although the golden-horned demonic god has been sealed for 1,000,000 years, his golden horn is very powerful. It can summon the power of lightning. Zhu Ganglai reminded from the side. It can summon lightning? That's good stuff. If I were to cut it down and merge it into the sky-devouring sword, it would definitely raise the quality of the sky-devouring sword. Ling Xiao stared at the golden horn of the golden-horned demonic god. His eyes glowed. He could feel that the golden horn was good stuff. It was not inferior to the best universe treasure. Zhu Ganglai, you go first. Test his strength. Ling Xiao did not intend to take action. Instead, he let Zhu Ganglai fight with the golden-horned demonic god. Let me go first? Master, the demon sealing tablet will restrict my strength. In the great demon sealing array, I will at most be on par with the golden-horned demonic god. I won't be able to kill him. Zhu Ganglai said bitterly. Don't worry. I will control the demon sealing tablet and will not restrict your strength. If you can't even deal with the golden-horned demonic god, what's the use of my young master keeping you alive? Shui Wei said indifferently. There was a sharp glint in her eyes. All right. Zhu Ganglai laughed bitterly. He knew that he could not avoid it this time. Damn fatty, who are you? Why do I feel a very familiar aura from you? The golden-horned demonic god stared at Zhu Ganglai with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Zhu Ganglai was furious. He instantly rushed into the great demon sealing array. There was a flash of light and he revealed his true form. He turned into a pig demonic god that was hundreds of feet tall. He had a green face and fangs. He had a pig head and a human body. He held a nine-toothed rake. He pointed at the golden-horned demonic god and scolded, You are the damn fatty. You three brothers are all damn fatties. Golden-horned, do you still recognize me? I'm going to kill you today. Zhu Ganglai? How can it be you? The golden-horned demonic god was stunned. Then, he said furiously, Zhu Ganglai, how dare you betray the demon tribe and seek refuge with the human tribe? You are the disgrace of the entire demon tribe. The lords will not let you go. You will definitely die. I will definitely die? Golden-horned, the one who will die today is you. Zhu Ganglai laughed and smashed the nine-toothed rake toward the golden-horned demonic god. Rumble! The 36 demon sealing tombstones shone brightly. Under Shui Wei's control, the demon sealing tombstones did not suppress Zhu Ganglai. Instead, the 36 colorful chains pierced through the golden-horned demonic god and suppressed most of his cultivation. Boom! The golden-horned demonic god knew the power of Zhu Ganglai's nine-toothed rake. He did not dare to take it head-on. The golden horn on his head suddenly shot out a golden lightning bolt toward Zhu Ganglai. That bolt of golden lightning contained an incomparably terrifying power, causing Ling Xiao's heart to involuntarily tremble. The golden lightning contained the thunder of the divine way. It was even more terrifying than the 108 exterminating supreme tribulations that Ling Xiao had experienced. When it hit the nine-toothed harrow, the golden lightning immediately enveloped Zhu Ganglai's body. Chapter 995. Zhu Ganglai, go to hell. The golden-horned demonic god's eyes revealed a cold killing intent as he charged toward Zhu Ganglai. Swoosh! The golden horn on his head was like a golden sword radiance. It was extremely dazzling and sharp, as if it could pierce a hole in anything. Boom! At the critical moment, Zhu Ganglai finally broke free from the power of the golden lightning. He grabbed the golden-horned demonic god's golden horn and turned his body to throw the golden-horned demonic god away. Golden-horned, you bastard! How dare you trick me? I'm not done with you. Zhu Ganglai was furious. The golden lightning was the power of thunder origin released by the golden-horned demonic god. Zhu Ganglai was careless and he was hit by it. If he had not reacted at the critical moment, there would have been a bloody hole in his body. Zhu Ganglai knew the power of the golden-horned demonic god. If he had been hit by the golden-horned demonic god, the power of thunder origin would have rushed into Zhu Ganglai's body and destroyed it completely. 1,000,000 years ago, many human tribe divine spirits were killed by the power of thunder origin and their divine souls were destroyed. Rumble! The nine-toothed rake emitted a dark light as it smashed towards the golden-horned demonic god. Ding! The golden horn on the golden-horned demonic god's head fell off and turned into a huge golden rod. The golden-horned demonic god held the rod in his hand as he fought with Zhu Ganglai. When the nine-toothed rake hit the golden rod, sparks flew and the void shook violently. If it had not been for the demonic sealing formation formed by the 36 demon sealing tombstones, the entire mountain would have been shattered. Fiend celestial-level powerhouses had the terrifying power to burn rivers and overturn seas, destroying heaven and earth. The golden-horned demonic god trembled and retreated dozens of steps. His physical strength was not as strong as Zhu Gonglie's, and most of his power came from the golden-horned demonic god's golden horn. However, the demonic sealing formation had sealed most of his power. Hence, he was no match for Zhu Ganglai. The sneak attack was the best opportunity. Unfortunately, Zhu Ganglai was too alert. Rumble. Zhu Ganglai and the golden-horned demonic god began to fight fiercely in the demonic sealing formation. Ling Xiao could tell that the golden-horned demon god was no match for Zhu Ganglai. It was just that the golden-horned demon god had transformed into a long rod that could release terrifying lightning from time to time. This made Zhu Ganglai fearful, which was why he could last for so long. Ling Xiao also realized that Zhu Ganglai was very cunning. Although he was fighting with the golden-horned demonic god, he did not use any other means other than the nine-toothed rake and Tiangang demon area. Ling Xiao also believed that Zhu Ganglai had more tricks up his sleeves. He definitely had more tricks up his sleeve. He just hadn't used them yet. After more than 100 moves, the golden-horned demon god showed signs of defeat. Why do you want to kill? How? And we. From then, and we. That is my master. If my master wants me to kill you, you have to die. What do you mean by dominating the world? I, Zhu Ganglai, will always be a friend of the human race. You bastards are my enemies. Zhu Ganglai said righteously. He stole a glance at Ling Xiao. He was afraid that the golden-horned demonic god's words would anger Ling Xiao. The golden-horned demonic god heard Zhu Ganglai's words and almost vomited blood. He pointed at Zhu Ganglai and scolded, Zhu Ganglai, you are shameless. You are the scum and disgrace of the demonic world. Rumble. Zhu Ganglai took advantage of the golden-horned demonic god's scolding to smash the golden-horned demonic god's chest with his nine-toothed rake. 9 bloody holes were left on his chest. The golden-horned demonic god cried out in pain. Zhu Ganglai, since you want to kill me, you have to die too. Silver horn, copper horn, let's kill this bastard. The golden-horned demonic god roared. His eyes were filled with anger. Rumble. The golden horn in his hand broke the void. Streaks of golden lightning blended into the depths of the void. It seemed to form a strange connection with the other two places. Suddenly, a light flashed around the golden-horned demonic god. 2 demonic gods that looked similar to the golden-horned demonic god appeared. They were both hundreds of feet tall. One of them was covered in silver light and had a silver horn on his head. The other one looked like it was cast in bronze and had a copper horn on his head. Big brother, Zhu Ganglai has ruined our plan. He deserves to die. Kill him. The silver horn demonic god and the copper horn demonic god were furious. They stared at Zhu Ganglai with burning anger in their eyes. Silver horn, copper horn? I know. You have been communicating with your origin horns all these years. You want to break the demonic sealing array at the same time? What a good move. If you have more time to accumulate energy, you might be able to break the demonic sealing array. Zhu Ganglai screamed as he stared at the silver horn demonic god and the copper horn demonic god. His eyes were filled with surprise. The golden horned demonic god, the silver horn demonic god, and the copper horn demonic god were all experts of the horned demon tribe. They were also triplets from the same mother. Their talents were extraordinary and their minds were connected. The golden-horned demonic god could control lightning. The silver-horned demonic god could summon wind and rain. The copper-horned demonic god was indestructible and had an invincible physical body. The horned demon tribe's talents were all in the horns on their heads. The 3 brothers communicated with the golden horn, silver horn, and copper horn. Somehow, they were able to break the demonic sealing array and send down their projection doppelgangers. The silver horn demonic god and the copper horn demonic god were the 2 projection doppelgangers. Bastard! If it wasn't for you, our real bodies would have been able to descend after some time. By then, we would have gathered our strength to break the seal and rush out. You have ruined our plan. Zhu Ganglai, you have to die. The silver horn demonic god and the copper horn demonic god were about to go crazy. Their eyes were filled with anger. Kill him. Rumble. The heaven and earth trembled and the void roared. The golden-horned demonic god was surrounded by golden lightning. He held a long rod that was formed by lightning and smashed it at Zhu Ganglai. The silver-horned demonic god turned his body into a strong wind. There were sharp wind blades around him that seemed to be able to cut through everything. He slashed at Zhu Ganglai. The copper-horned demonic god's aura was terrifying. He pounced at Zhu Ganglai and threw a punch. There was a terrifying energy fluctuation around him. "You 3 idiots want to kill me? Go to hell." Zhu Ganglai sneered. He pulled himself together and rushed forward with the 9-toothed rake in his hand to fight the 3 demonic gods. Boom! An intense battle broke out instantly. Chapter 996. Master, please take action. I can't stop these 3 idiots. Zhu Ganglai shouted at Ling Xiao. Humph, Zhu Ganglai, you have disgraced the demon realm by acknowledging an ant from the human tribe as your master. You are the scum of the demon realm. The golden-horned demonic god sneered. He did not take Ling Xiao seriously and continued to attack Zhu Ganglai. Moreover, the 3 demonic gods were getting more aggressive as they fought. The demon sealing formation was shaking violently and it looked as though it was about to break the seal. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he said to Shuiwei, "Shuiwei, you preside over the demon sealing formation. I'll kill these 3 guys." Swoosh! Ling Xiao leaped up and transformed into a golden bolt of lightning, instantly charging into the great demon sealing formation. The sky-devouring sword shone brightly and appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. It turned into a dazzling river and slashed at the 3 demonic gods. "Human brat, you're courting death." The golden-horned demonic god was furious and he smashed his golden long rod at Ling Xiao. Clang! The sky-swallowing sword stood on the golden staff. Suddenly, sparks flew in all directions. Endless golden lightning rose up. Ling Xiao's figure was like a ghost. In an instant, he appeared behind the golden-horned demonic god and punched out. The golden-horned demonic god's eyes were cold and he also punched out. Gotcha! When the 2 fists collided, Ling Xiao's body did not move. However, the golden-horned demonic god's face changed instantly. He was pushed back dozens of steps by Ling Xiao's punch. "How can your physical body be so strong?" the golden-horned demonic god said in shock and anger. His eyes were filled with disbelief. "I'll tell you when you're dead." Ling Xiao smiled faintly and charged at the golden-horned demonic god with his sword again. Although the golden-horned demonic god, the silver-horned demonic god and the copper-horned demonic god were strong, their combat strength was similar to Zhu Ganglia's. Naturally, they were no match for Ling Xiao. Under the joint attack of Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai, the 3 demonic gods began to retreat. Rumble! The wordless heavenly book appeared and divine chains of order stretched across the sky. Instantly, they entangled the 3 demonic gods and began to devour their majestic divine power. Wordless heavenly book? How can you have the textless heavenly book? Wasn't the textless heavenly book destroyed by Lord Demon God King? The 3 brothers, Goldhorn, Silverhorn, and Copperhorn, turned pale with fright. Their eyes were filled with disbelief as they roared at the top of their lungs. However, Ling Xiao ignored them. The wordless heavenly book had a natural restraining effect on the demon race. Under the crazy devouring of the wordless heavenly book, the 3 demon gods began to lose their strength rapidly. Moreover, they were unable to break free from the devouring power. "Bastard, let us go. Human ant, you deserve to die." The golden-horned demonic god roared. His eyes were filled with terror. He had been sealed for 1,000,000 years. He was a demonic god who had survived 1,000,000 years ago. 1,000,000 years ago, even the first saintess of Samsara failed to kill him. She could only seal the 3 of them. But now, to his dismay, he realized that he was about to die in Ling Xiao's hands. "Big brother, you have to avenge us." Silver-horned demon god and bronze-horned demon god looked at each other. There was madness in their eyes, and a terrifying fluctuation began to spread from their bodies. "Not good. Master, they're going to self-detonate." Zhu Ganglia's expression flickered. Although the silver-horn and bronze-horned demon gods had only sent their projection clones, they still contained most of their power. If they self-detonated, their true bodies would be seriously injured, and they would never be able to escape the grand demon sealing formation. Rumble! Suddenly, Black light erupted from the silver horn and bronze-horned demon gods, and they exploded. A terrifying storm of black light swept out in all directions, containing a destructive power that caused the grand demon ceiling formation to tremble violently as though it might shatter at any moment. Shui Wei's face turned pale as she suffered a huge backlash. She coughed up a mouthful of blood, but her eyes shone with determination. She remained seated cross-legged, using the power of the 6 Daos reincarnation sword to support the grand demon ceiling formation. "You're courting death." Eyes flashing with rage, Ling Xiao drew on the power of the Heavenly King Heaven Devourer Cauldron and the wordless Heavenly Tome. Instantly, the power of the explosion was absorbed by the wordless Heavenly Tome, including the shattered nascent divinities of the 2 devil gods. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you!" The golden-horned demon god went berserk. He drew on the power of his golden horn and sent it piercing toward Ling Xiao. The golden horn contained the power to pierce through everything. Surrounded by golden lightning, it shot towards Ling Xiao's forehead at an extremely fast speed. Black Tortoise Shield. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he activated the Black Tortoise secret technique. A black tortoise shadow appeared in front of him, turning into an extremely powerful defensive shield. Boom. However, the power of the golden horn was too strong. Although the Black Tortoise Shield's defensive capabilities were strong, it was unable to withstand the full-powered attack of a demon god. In just a short moment, the Black Tortoise Shield completely shattered. However, the power of the golden horn had been reduced by half, and it shot toward Ling Xiao's forehead. "Kill him! You have to kill him!" The golden-horned demon god's eyes shone with anticipation. As long as Ling Xiao was killed, the wordless heavenly book would no longer be able to trap him. Perhaps he would be able to break free. However, a black armor appeared on Ling Xiao's body. The Aries set was activated by Ling Xiao. Rumble! The golden horn was dazzling with lightning, but the Aries set was a flawless artifact. It contained an extremely strong defensive power. After being weakened by the Black Tortoise Shield, the power of the golden horn had been greatly weakened. It could no longer penetrate the Aries set and was directly caught in Ling Xiao's hand. "This golden horn is not bad. I'll take it," Ling Xiao said indifferently. No matter how hard the golden horn struggled, it couldn't escape from his hands. The golden-horned demon god was in despair. Even his most powerful golden horn couldn't do anything to Ling Xiao. How could he save his life? As the wordless heavenly book continued to devour the power in his body, the golden-horned demon god felt his life slipping away. His eyes were filled with fear. "Spare my life. Lord of the human tribe, please spare my life. I'm willing to acknowledge you as my master like Zhu Ganglai." The golden-horned demon god couldn't stay calm in the face of the threat of death. He began to beg for mercy loudly. "You can't even defeat Zhu Ganglai. What's the use of keeping you alive?" Ling Xiao smiled coldly and his eyes shone with a cold light. Rumble. Chapter 997. Just like that, the golden-horned demon god was completely devoured and refined by the wordless heaven book for 3 days and 3 nights. The pitiful golden-horned demon god died in the hands of Ling Xiao. Originally, the golden-horned demon god's cultivation of real god realm could have crushed Ling Xiao with one hand. However, it was a pity that he had been trapped there for 1,000,000 years. On top of that, he had been severely injured and his cultivation had been reduced to less than a real deity. Hence, he had died in grievance. Although Ling Xiao had refined the golden-horned demon god with the wordless heaven book, he wasn't arrogant because of that. Ling Xiao knew how terrifying a god state expert was. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation, he might not even be able to defeat a real deity, let alone a real god like the golden-horned demon god. The demon gods who were sealed there were like stray dogs. Time had worn away their cultivation and even their fighting spirit. They didn't even have the determination to fight with their lives. In the end, they had no choice but to die in grievance. After devouring and refining the golden-horned demon god, the wordless heavenly book seemed to have eaten a great tonic. It gave Ling Xiao an incomparably pure energy, allowing his cultivation to reach the peak of the 7th level supreme stage. He was only a step away from breaking through to the 8th level supreme stage. Ling Zhao's accumulation was too strong. Even with such majestic energy, he couldn't break through immediately. Master, the golden-horned demon god is dead. The silver-horned demon god and the copper-horned demon god are severely injured. If we go over now, it will be a piece of cake to kill them. Zhu Ganglai smiled. All right, let's go. There was a flash of light in Ling Zhao's eyes as he left with Shui Wei and Zhu Ganglai. Shui Wei also took the 36 demon sealing tablets with her. Then, the silver-horned demon god and the copper-horned demon god were severely injured by Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai. Then, they were devoured by the wordless heaven book. Previously, they had self-destructed their avatars and were severely injured. At that moment, they couldn't resist Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai. After the wordless heaven book refined the silver-horned demon god and the copper-horned demon god, it gave Ling Xiao 2 streams of pure energy and he finally broke through to level 8 Supreme Realm. However, even after refining the power of the 3 demon gods, he still could not make the wordless heavenly book manifest as secret skill. Although Ling Xiao had expected this, he was still a little disappointed. Master, the 3 great demon gods are already dead. Now, only the 10 demon gods from the 9 great demon tribes are left. However, although the 10 fiend celestials have yet to break free, they can still send their avatars. Although ordinary fiend celestials are strong, they are unlikely to be your match. However, Master Dark Sky Fiend Celestial, you have to be careful. He was originally a celestial deity realm powerhouse. Now, even I don't know how much combat strength he has left. Zhu Ganglai said solemnly to Ling Xiao. Dark Sky Demon God? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he slowly said, no matter how strong the Dark Sky Devil is, I have to go this time. I can't let them open the passage to the War God world. Even if I can't kill the Dark Sky Devil, I have to destroy the passage. Zhu Ganglai laughed bitterly and said, Master, the passageway to the War God's realm is in the Heavenly Devil tribe. If you want to destroy the passageway, you will have to face the Dark Sky Devil. Although Master is strong, I'm afraid you are no match for the Dark Sky Devil. Among the 4 realms of the Divine Path, the Dark Sky Devil was a celestial deity realm powerhouse. Even if he had been sealed for 1,000,000 years and lost a lot of his strength, he was still not someone Ling Xiao could fight against. No matter what, I have to try. I can't let them open the passageway to the War God's realm. Ling Xiao said resolutely. There was a sharp glint in his eyes. Zhu Ganglai laughed bitterly and nodded. He clearly felt that Ling Xiao's decision was very irrational. Why was Ling Xiao so determined to destroy the passageway? Shui Wei glanced at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was probably doing it for Jin Se. Only Jin Se in the origin sea of the War God's realm could make Ling Xiao so reckless. Master, how about this? Among the 10 fiend celestials, the weakest is the Dog Head God. We will go to the Dog Devil tribe. Even if the other 9 fiend celestials send their avatars, we can still escape unscathed if we can't defeat them. We can also test the Dark Sky Devil's true strength. If we can do it, it won't be too late for us to go to the Heavenly Devil tribe. Zhu Ganglai pondered for a moment and said slowly, Doghead God? Good. Let's go to the Dog Devil tribe to take a look. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a glint. According to Zhu Ganglai, among the 10 fiend celestials, other than the Dark Sky Devil, the other fiend celestials were nothing to worry about. Moreover, they were all in a sealed state. Ling Xiao could definitely defeat them one by one. However, the most important thing was the Dark Sky Devil. If the Dark Sky Devil's strength far exceeded Ling Xiao's, even if it was just a mere avatar, Ling Xiao would not be able to defeat it. Ling Xiao, Shui Wei, and Zhu Ganglai flew toward the Dog Devil tribe. The Dog Devil tribe was the weakest of the 10 demon tribes. They only had 2 million people and were located in the northern part of the sealed land. The Dog Devil tribe had built the Heavenly Dog City there. The Dog Head God of the Dog Devil tribe was sealed under the Heavenly Dog City in the deep abyss of the earth. Ling Xiao and the other 2 arrived at the Heavenly Dog City. They did not even bother to disguise themselves. They appeared as humans and charged into the Heavenly Dog City. Not good. The 2 devils of the human race are here. Quickly report to the tribe leader. Release the arrows. Don't let them enter the heavenly dog city. Quickly summon Lord Doghead God. Otherwise, our dog devil tribe will be finished. The appearance of Ling Xiao and the other two immediately made the entire dog devil tribe feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Above the heavenly dog city, countless experts of the dog devil tribe were on alert. After seeing Ling Xiao and Shui Wei, they immediately released thousands of arrows in an attempt to force them to retreat. Courting death. A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. The sky-devouring sword soared into the sky and instantly expanded to 10,000 feet in size. It was like a resplendent Milky Way falling down and slashing the Tiango city. Rumble! A snow-white sword chi landed on the ground. Instantly, the heavenly dog city exploded. Thousands of experts of the heavenly dog clan were killed by Ling Xiao's sword. In the heavenly dog city, a huge sword ray appeared and split the ground in half. Despicable human, you dare to kill the people of my dog devil tribe? Aren't you afraid that the dog-head god and the other demon gods will come after you? The tribe leader of the dog devil tribe quickly rushed over with his men. He looked to be more than 3 feet tall. He had a dog head and a human body. His body was covered in black scales. His face looked extremely ferocious. His sharp teeth emitted a cold light as he stared at Ling Xiao with a pair of furious eyes. He was the tribe leader of the dog devil tribe. His cultivation was in the Demon King realm. However, he was still a little frightened at this moment. The 3 people in front of him had slaughtered the Boar Devil clan, which was stronger than the Dog Devil clan. The Dog Devil clan was weaker than the Boar Devil clan, so how could they resist these 3 humans? Chapter 998. Settle accounts with me? I can't wait for them to come. But even if they do, you won't be able to see them. Eyes flashing with cold killing intent, Ling Xiao hefted the Heaven Devourer sword and charged forward. Ling Xiao didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt when it came to slaughtering devil folk. This was a war between races, and there was no such thing as good or evil. It had to end with the destruction of one side. Bastard! The chief of the dog devil said, enraged. Never could he have guessed that Ling Xiao would attack him without a word. After hearing Ling Xiao's vicious reputation, how could he possibly have any desire to fight? He couldn't even block a few moves before being killed by Ling Xiao's sword. Along the way, Ling Xiao and Shui Wei slaughtered their way into Heavenly Hound City. Screams rang out as they slaughtered their way through the city. Eventually, the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron devoured their flesh, blood, and nascent divinities. In the very center of Heavengu City was an enormous chasm that belched endless amounts of devil energy. Next to the chasm was an enormous statue 100 meters tall, with the head of a dog and the body of a man. It wielded a black war blade and emanated a towering baleful aura. It was none other than the statue of the dog-head god. The dog-head god is down there, Zhu Ganglai said, pointing at the chasm. He probably already knows we're here. Let's go, Ling Xiao said, his eyes flashing. Then he transformed into a beam of golden light that shot down into the chasm. Shui Wei and Zhu Ganglai flew down with Ling Xiao. In the abyss, demonic energy gushed out, and a baleful aura soared, containing an endless aura of darkness and evil. This was the demonic energy formed by the leakage of the dog-head god's divine power. To humans, it was highly toxic, but to the dog devil race, it was a cultivation holy land. After descending 30,000 meters into the chasm, the darkness began to fade, and dazzling light appeared. It was the 36 devil sealing tombstones, shining like 36 stars in the night sky, illuminating the darkness. 36 devil seal tombstones formed a huge barrier that enveloped a huge demon god. The devil god had the head of a dog and the body of a man. He radiated a baleful aura that made him look exactly like the dog-head statue in the outside world. This was none other than the dog-head god of the dog devil race, the dog-head god. The dog-head god didn't seem surprised at all by Ling Xiao and Shui Wei's arrival. Despicable humans. You killed my descendants and my people. Since you're here, you won't be leaving. The dog-head god stared at Ling Xiao and Shui Wei, his eyes bloodshot and filled with cold killing intent. You're the dog-head god, right? I'm curious, where did you get the confidence to keep us here? Ling Xiao smiled as he looked at the dog-head god. Despicable human, demon gods are not to be insulted. Don't think that you have the right to be arrogant in front of me just because you killed that idiot Zhu Ganglai. Today, your life will be mine. Dog-head god sneered and said, Dog-head god, you're the idiot, your whole family are idiots. I'm abandoning the dark for the light, following my master in pursuit of the supreme great Tao. A frog in a well like you can't understand. Zhu Ganglai could not hold it in any longer. He stood up and pointed at the dog-head god. You're the scum of the demonic world. Lord Haitian won't let you off. The dog-head god's eyes showed a trace of surprise, then he sneered. Dog-head god, stop bluffing. I know that the 10 of you can support each other. Summon the projections of the other demon gods. Otherwise, you won't stand a chance. Ling Xiao said. Among the 10 demon gods, the only one he was wary of was the Haitian demon. The Haitian demon had almost killed the great elder of the Samsara temple with just a wisp of Haitian demon chi. The combat strength of the Haitian demon was terrifying. Ling Xiao also wanted to see how strong the so-called dark sky devil was. Haha. What an arrogant human. Do you really think that the 3 of you can defeat us, the 10 great demon gods? This kid's blood chi is majestic. His physical body is complete. His flesh must be delicious. I want it. I want this kid's primordial spirit. Give me that human girl. I want to toy with her to death. Powerful and cold voices suddenly rang out in the void like thunder, causing the void to tremble. Black demonic chi rose. Instantly, 9 powerful figures appeared around the dog-head god. Each of them exuded a murderous aura. Their bodies were shrouded in demonic light and they were extremely powerful. Especially the figure in the middle. Although he was only a few feet tall and looked the most ordinary, his aura was also the most powerful. His body exuded a black light. The scales on his body clattered and he was full of explosive power. He had 2 horns on his head. His face was ferocious and cold. His eyes were bloodthirsty. That figure gave Ling Xiao the strongest feeling. Ling Xiao could feel a strong threat from him. The Haitian demon. These 4 words appeared in Ling Xiao's mind. Only the Haitian demon could be so powerful. 9 terrifying figures, in addition to the dog-headed god, all 10 demon gods of the sealed land had gathered. Cold killing intent instantly locked onto Ling Xiao and the other 2. Zhu Ganglai, you deserve to die for betraying the demonic race. Get over here and confess your sins. The Haitian demon looked at Zhu Ganglai indifferently. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. To the Haitian demon, humans were just food. They were livestock like pigs, horses, cows, and sheep. The demonic race was the noblest race. Zhu Ganglai had recognized a human as his master. He was the scum and disgrace of the demonic world. This made the Haitian demon extremely angry. Boom! A terrifying aura exuded from the Haitian demon. As it spread out, it seemed to freeze the void. A strong sense of danger appeared in Ling Xiao's mind. He felt the threat of death. The Haitian demon is indeed terrifying. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. His entire body became extremely vigilant, ready to erupt into a great battle at any time. Haitian, I don't think you can control who I, Zhu Ganglai, recognize as my master. My master is the son of destiny. He will definitely ascend to the realm of the gods in the future and become a saint. He might even become a supreme emperor. If you know what's good for you, kneel down and submit to my master. Perhaps he might spare your dog life. Zhu Ganglai was not afraid of the Haitian demon as he sneered. Son of destiny? Zhu Ganglai, I think you must be blind. How many peerless geniuses in the heavens and realms? Even those who were born as gods would not dare to call themselves the son of destiny. How dare an ant human like him call himself the son of destiny? Since you're so stubborn, you can die with him today. Chapter 999. Kill them. The dark sky demon said coldly. Boom. Instantly, the 9 demon gods exuded a terrifying aura that pressed down on Ling Xiao and the other 2. Zhu Ganglai, you deal with the dog god. Shui Wei, you control the demon sealing formation. Leave the rest to me. Ling Xiao said quickly. A sharp light flashed in his eyes, and he pounced towards the projection of the demon god. The dark sky demon god did not attack because of his status. Instead, he let the 9 demon gods deal with Ling Xiao and the other 2, giving Ling Xiao an opportunity. Ling Xiao wanted to use this opportunity to deal with the 8 demon gods' projection before dealing with the dark sky demon god. All right. Zhu Ganglai and Shui Wei nodded. Shui Wei's eyes were filled with worry, but she agreed obediently. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Beams of light soared into the sky and over 100 devil seal tombstones appeared on Shui Wei's body. After killing the golden horn demon god, the silver horn demon god, and the copper horn demon god, in addition to the devil seal tombstone that sealed Zhu Ganglai and the other 36 devil seal tombstones here, Shui Wei had a total of 180 devil seal tombstones. As soon as the 180 devil seal tombstones appeared, they contained an extremely powerful sealing power. They enveloped the dog-headed god and the 8 demon gods' projection clones. The dark sky demon god looked indifferent as though he had no intention of attacking. He only stared at the battle between Ling Xiao and the other demon gods. Dog god, let me send you to your death. Zhu Ganglai laughed coldly as he charged at the dog god with the 9-toothed rake in his hand. Zhu Ganglai, you scum of the demon world. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The dog god's hand flashed and a black saber appeared as well. He charged at Zhu Ganglai energetically. The 2 of them engaged in an intense battle. The other 8 demon gods' projection charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. The strength of the 8 demon gods was only on par with Zhu Ganglai's, so Ling Xiao didn't think much of their projected avatars. However, there was still Dark Sky Demon God who was eyeing them covetously. Hence, Ling Xiao wanted to take them by surprise and get rid of their projected avatars first. Boom! The heaven-devouring sword in Ling Xiao's hand shone with resplendent light as it slashed towards the 8 great fiend gods. Although the projected doppelgangers of the 8 great demon gods were not their original bodies, they looked extremely real and were no different from their original bodies. Their strength was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao knocked aside the blade of a wolf demon god with a swing of his sword and immediately slashed at his neck. The wolf demon god jumped in fright. Its sharp claws emitted resplendent light as it slapped the heaven-devouring sword. At the same time, it flashed and appeared behind Ling Xiao, opening its bloody mouth to swallow him. Bang! With a punch, Ling Xiao's terrifying physical strength erupted, directly sending the wolf demon god flying. Another 2 demon gods seemed to be hiding in the void. Their auras were extremely weak. 2 soundless sword beams pierced towards Ling Xiao. Boom! Ling Xiao's body glowed with resplendent light as the black tortoise shield appeared and blocked the sneak attack of the 2 sword beams. At the same time, Ling Xiao punched out with both fists, forcing the 2 demonic gods out. The sky-devouring sword flashed and was about to slice them into 2. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions as a demon god that looked like a ferocious tiger appeared out of nowhere. The huge mountain-splitting axe in his hand blocked Ling Xiao's sword as he let out a tiger's roar. A powerful sound wave rushed into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, as if it wanted to stun him. Then the other demon gods charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. Get out of my way! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as the sky-devouring sword erupted with resplendent sword chi that revolved around him rapidly, forcing back the attacks of the surrounding demon gods. Kill! Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the 8 great demon gods as they charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. Good timing. I'll let you have a taste of my 4 elephants sky striking style. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a monstrous battle intent. In an instant, he punched out and a terrifying fist seal enveloped the 8 great demon gods. The void trembled as the figures of the ancestral dragon, the real phoenix, the white tiger, and the black tortoise appeared behind Ling Xiao. The 4 great divine beasts intertwined with each other and instantly turned into 4 divine lights that shot into the sky, suppressing the 8 great demon gods. In an instant, the void shattered as endless chaotic mist filled the air. The 4 great divine beasts rampaged through the chaos as their ultimate power gathered together, giving Ling Xiao's punch an extremely terrifying power. This was the new Four Elephants Sky striking style. Ling Xiao had fused the Ancestral Dragon secret skill, the Real Phoenix secret skill, the White Tiger secret skill, and the Black Tortoise secret skill to create a killer move. Although it was only a preliminary fusion and this move was extremely crude, the power that erupted was already extremely terrifying. The four great divine beasts fused into one and the divine power of origin gathered on Ling Xiao's fist seal before it exploded. Oh no! The dark sky demon god's gaze changed as he immediately sensed the terrifying power contained in this punch. He was afraid that the 8 great demon gods would not be able to block this punch. Without even thinking, he also threw a punch at Ling Xiao. Black lightning rose up, containing an incomparably terrifying force, wanting to block Ling Xiao's punch. Rumble. The dark sky demon god's punch arrived first. Although he managed to block Ling Xiao's punch, the Four Elephants Sky striking style still exploded. Endless chaotic divine light rose like a destructive storm and engulfed the 8 great demon gods. The 8 great demon gods felt as though they were struck by lightning as their bodies trembled violently. Then their bodies flew out and their figures became much dimmer. If the dark sky demon god had not blocked Ling Xiao's punch, the 8 great demon gods' projections would have been completely obliterated by this punch. What a pity! A look of pity flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes. Indeed, the dark sky demonic god had struck out. That simple punch had almost destroyed Ling Xiao's horrifying first punch. The true strength of the dark sky demonic god was way more horrifying than Ling Xiao had imagined. Human brat, your combat strength is indeed very strong. If you were given more time to grow and break through to the godly state, I'm afraid even I wouldn't be your match. However, with your current strength, you're no match for me at all. The dark sky demon god stared at Ling Xiao and finally revealed a serious look in his eyes. In his eyes, Ling Xiao was just an ant that he could easily crush. However, Ling Xiao's punch finally made him take him seriously. Regardless of Ling Xiao's cultivation, this punch already had the power to threaten the godly spirit realm. Whether I'm your match or not, we'll only know after the battle. Dark sky demon god, let's fight. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a tinge of monstrous battle intent. The golden divine light around him was dazzling as he threw a punch at the dark sky demon god. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently as dragon power filled the air. This punch was the power of the 10,000 dragons god-slaying skill. 12 rainbow divine dragons soared through the sky and charged at the dark sky demon god. Chapter 1000. Ling Xiao's cultivation had broken through to the 8th level supreme realm. The 10,000 dragons god-slaying art that he used had also reached the terrifying level of 12 7-colored divine dragons. 10,000 dragons god-slaying art? It's a pity that you haven't mastered it yet. The dark sky demon said indifferently with a hint of coldness in his eyes. Gotcha. With a simple slap, it was as if the void was under his control. 12 rainbow-colored divine dragons roared in the void. However, under the shroud of the boundless void, they were instantly shattered by the dark sky demonic god's slap. As the fist and palm collided, Ling Xiao felt an unparalleled divine force rushing towards him. He was instantly sent flying and his arm went numb. Is this the power of the dark sky demon? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a strong desire to battle. He had just executed the incomplete Four Elephants Heaven striking style. The combined power of the 4 secret skills had almost drained all of his divine force. If it weren't for the strength of the god of war, Ling Xiao wouldn't have been able to execute the 4 Elephants Heaven striking style. Ling Xiao guessed that if he could completely combine the power of the 4 secret skills and derive the complete 4 Elephants Heaven striking style, it would definitely reach the level of a god-class martial art. However, neither the incomplete 4 Elephants Heaven striking style nor the 10,000 dragons god-slaying art could do anything to the dark sky demon. The dark sky demon was like the grim reaper who controlled the life and death of all living beings. Although it was only a projection clone, it contained the most boundless power of laws. Even if the 8 projection clones of the dark sky demon worked together, they wouldn't be a match for him. Rumble. Shui controlled the 180 Devil Seal tombstones to trap the Dark Sky Demon sealing formation, preventing them from escaping. The Devil Seal formation formed by the 180 Devil Seal tombstones was extremely powerful. Even if the Dark Sky Demon was here, he might not be able to break through it, let alone a mere projection clone. However, the Dark Sky Demon didn't care about the Devil Seal tombstones. He only wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Boom! The Dark Sky Demon's eyes flashed with killing intent. The demonic aura around him surged and turned into a black saber light that slashed down at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao could feel the terrifying power of the saber. It was so mighty that even Zhu Ganglai wouldn't be able to block it. Black Tortoise Shield. Heaven Devourer Cauldron. A sharp light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. He did not dodge. Furthermore, there was no space for him to dodge within the Great Demon Sealing Formation. At the same time, the Heaven Devourer Cauldron shone with dazzling light as it pulsed with boundless devouring power. Yang Qi looked at the Xuanwu shield in front of Ling Xiao. Clang. When the demonic blade stood on the Black Tortoise shield, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Sparks flew in all directions as countless runes exploded. The Black Tortoise shield contained extremely powerful defensive power, but under this blade, many spiderwebs appeared in an instant and exploded a moment later. The King Heaven Devourer Cauldron shone with dazzling light as it transformed into a vortex that sucked in the saber. Rumble! Black Devil energy surged, and the saber light burned even brighter. Although the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron was strong, it still wasn't strong enough to deal with it. The King Heaven Devourer Cauldron trembled violently, then exploded into countless razor-sharp saber light that shot toward Ling Xiao. The saber light was made of the purest Black Devil energy and contained immense power. Not only did it break through the Black Tortoise shield, it also broke through the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron. A sensation of deadly crisis rose up in Ling Xiao's heart. Ling Xiao's eyes were as calm as ever as a beam of dazzling light shot out from his forehead. The wordless heavenly tome swirled with light, devouring the saber light. Whiz! The wordless heavenly tome floated there, glittering and translucent, mysterious and unfathomable. It shone with dazzling light that enveloped the 10 devil gods. What? At that moment, all the demon gods' faces changed drastically. They felt like they had been targeted by some terrifying existence. Extremely terrifying pulses radiated from the depths of their souls. That's the wordless heavenly tome. You human ant. How could you have the wordless heavenly tome? Black Heaven Devil God's face fell, and his eyes flickered with both greed and fear as he locked onto Ling Xiao with cold killing intent. Rumble! Black Heaven Devil God reached out toward the wordless heavenly tome, his baleful aura surging. An enormous devil hand descended, causing the void to tremble violently, as though heaven and earth were being covered by a boundless darkness. The wordless heavenly tome trembled as it tried to devour Black Heaven Devil God's power. However, Black Heaven Devil God was simply too strong for the tome to do anything to him. Black lightning flashed as Black Heaven Devil God reached out and grabbed the tome, then yanked it back toward him. You human ant, there's no way you can have a precious treasure like the wordless heavenly tome. Hand it over. Black Heaven Devil God laughed loudly, his eyes flickering with cold light. You want the wordless heavenly tome? Well, let's see if you're strong enough to take it. Ling Xiao's eyes were cold and calm. Black Heaven Devil God's strength had exceeded his expectations, and yet, his will to fight only grew stronger. Rumble! Heaven and earth trembled violently as the power of the God of War within Ling Xiao's body surged. He activated the God of War skill and executed the God of War King Fist, charging toward Black Heaven Devil God. The God of War King Fist was the ultimate killing fist. As Ling Xiao's cultivation increased, it became even more terrifying. A golden fist mark rose from the boundless ocean like a divine sun, illuminating the millions of dark worlds. It was extremely bright, and then it suddenly exploded. Streaks of golden lightning enveloped Ling Xiao's body. Then it exploded in an instant, clashing head-on with Black Heaven Devil God. Terrifying divine light swept out in all directions. Both Ling Xiao and Black Heaven Devil God shuddered as they were sent flying. Meanwhile, the wordless heavenly tome flew back into Ling Xiao's consciousness. "Aunt, you're courting death." Black Heaven Devil God seemed to be enraged. His eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent as he executed his most terrifying attack, sweeping toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was like a small boat in a storm, trying his best to hold on as he fought against Black Heaven Devil God. This battle was extremely intense and tough. Given Ling Xiao's current strength, he could kill a few devil gods. However, he was at a disadvantage in the hands of Black Heaven Devil God. The 10,000 Dragons God-slaying technique, the King of War Fist, and various other martial arts techniques were unleashed from Ling Xiao's hands. They contained a destructive power. Chapter 1001. Boom. The Dark Sky Demon's terrifying punch tore through the sky and landed heavily on Ling Xiao's chest. Although Ling Xiao was wearing the Ares set and had a strong defense that reduced almost 90% of the force, the Dark Sky Demon's power was too strong. Ling Xiao's organs were injured and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Young master, are you all right?" Shui Wei cried out in alarm, a trace of worry in her eyes. The Dark Sky Demonic God was too terrifying. It was just a projection clone, and it was suppressed by the Great Demon's sealing array. Yet, it still managed to injure Ling Xiao. She wondered how terrifying the Dark Sky Demon's true body would be at its peak. The Dark Sky Demon's power is so strong? It seems like I underestimated him. I wonder if Master has any life-saving means. Otherwise, we're all doomed. A bitter smile appeared on Zhu Gonglie's face. The battle between him and the Dog-Head God was intense. However, the Dog-Head God was no match for him. It was suppressed by his Tiangang demon realm and its defeat was imminent. However, the most crucial battle was between Ling Xiao and the Dark Sky Demon. If Ling Xiao won, they would win the battle. If Ling Xiao lost, they would all die here. Even Zhu Ganglai felt a little nervous when he saw how strong the Dark Sky Demon was. "I'm fine." Ling Xiao's eyes were calm, but there was a sharp glint in his eyes. Golden light swirled around him as a majestic life force flowed through his body. The injuries caused by the Dark Sky Demon's punch were healed in an instant. Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely terrifying. It had the vastness of a true dragon, the nirvana of a phoenix, the indestructible of a white tiger, and the virtuous of a black tortoise. He had reached the peak of humanity. As long as he didn't suffer a destructive blow, his physical injuries would heal very quickly. Ling Xiao had risked his injuries to test the Dark Sky Demon's true strength. A projection clone uses the primordial spirit as the foundation to carry the power of the divine path. Speaking of which, the birth chart is 1. Even a projection clone can't sever it. In that case, I'll let you try the life-reversing technique. Ling Xiao thought to himself as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Human ant, hand over the wordless heavenly book. The Dark Sky Demon's eyes revealed a hint of cruelty. Demonic chi rose around him, turning into a huge palm print that blotted out the sky and pressed down on Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly closed. A mysterious and profound ripple spread out. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the air, and his entire person seemed to have disappeared. The terrifying giant palm pressed down, and the space around Ling Xiao seemed to be distorted. Streams of light flashed all over Ling Xiao's body, making people feel as if he didn't exist in this space. It was very strange. Rumble. The huge palm print caused the void to tremble violently, but it did not hit Ling Xiao at all. What? The Dark Sky Demon God's eyes flashed with a hint of bewilderment. Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly opened. His eyes became cold and mysterious, as if they were the eyes of the heavens, looking down on all living beings. There was not a trace of emotion in them. 3 ancient syllables burst out from Ling Xiao's mouth. Shatter the birth chart. Ling Xiao's body shone brightly, and there seemed to be a vast and mysterious river behind him. Traces of mysterious energy fused into Ling Xiao's eyes, turning into 2 cold beams of chaotic divine light that shot towards the Dark Sky Demon. The 2 streaks of chaotic divine light were formless and looked extremely gorgeous. However, the dark sky demon god's expression changed drastically. This is the Red Dragon Deity King's fate reversing skill. How can you know the fate reversing skill? Are you his successor? The dark sky demon roared, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Boom. However, the two beams of chaotic divine light shot into the dark sky demon's body, and even into his real body that was far away. Suddenly, a crisp sound rang out, as though something had shattered. The dark sky demon's body trembled violently, and the projection became extremely dim, as though it would disappear at any moment. You know about the fate reversing skill? So what if you know? You'll definitely die today. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. The fate reversing technique directly attacked a birth chart. The first move that Ling Xiao executed, shattering birth charts, used the supreme power of destiny to directly attack the birth chart of the black sky demon god. Although this attack did not completely destroy the dark sky demon, it had already damaged his birth chart, causing the dark sky demon to be scared out of his wits. The dark sky demon had been suppressed for 1,000,000 years, and he did not have much lifespan left. Since the birth chart controlled one's lifespan, the damage to his birth chart would directly endanger his lifespan. It could be said that Ling Xiao's attack had at least cut off half of the dark sky demon's lifespan. How could he not be frightened and furious? Ling Xiao's face was also slightly pale. The life providence of the dark sky demon god was too strong, causing him to suffer a severe backlash. The backlash directly affected his body, causing his life source to be drained rapidly. Human ant, you're dead meat. No one in this world can save you. When I break the seal, it'll be your death. The dark sky demon glared at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with resentment. Initially, he did not take Ling Xiao seriously and even wanted to kill him to snatch the wordless heavenly book. However, the moment the fate-reversing skill was used, he was immediately afraid. This move of shatter the birth chart had cut off half of his lifespan. If Ling Xiao used a few more moves, wouldn't he be killed on the spot? Boom. The void trembled violently and the demonic aura around the dark heaven's demonic god rose. That clone of his actually wanted to escape. What? The other 9 demon gods were dumbfounded. Initially, they were hoping that the dark heaven's demonic god would be able to kill these 2 humans. But, to think that the moment the fate-reversing skill was unleashed, the dark heaven's demonic god would shudder in fear and try to escape. If the dark sky demon escaped, what would the 9 of them do? Were they going to wait for their deaths? In particular, the dog-head god's expression was extremely ugly. The other demon gods had only sent their projection clones here. Even if they were killed by Ling Xiao, their main bodies were still here. However, his main body was here. If the dark sky demon escaped, he would definitely die. You want to leave? Take another move of mine, life burning. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent. It was not easy for him to encounter the dark sky demon, so how could he let him escape? Chapter 1002. This was a direct attack on one's birth chart. No one could withstand it. However, the art of reversing fate was also a forbidden technique that would harm oneself. Ling Xiao did not want to use it unless he had no other choice. No matter what, he had to kill the dark sky demon. He could not allow him to open the passage to the war god's realm. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body shone brightly as a mysterious flame burned. This was the fire of longevity. It burned his life source and sacrificed it to the river of destiny to obtain terrifying power. When Ling Xiao was in the reincarnation ocean, he had already burned 5,000 years of his life. With his maximum lifespan of 10,000 years, he only had 5,000 years left. At this moment, Ling Xiao went all out and burned 4,000 years of his life to obtain a vast amount of power. He slammed it on the dark sky demon's body across the endless void. Ling Xiao's aura aged at a speed visible to the naked eye. His white hair fluttered in the wind and wrinkles appeared on his face. His gaze was indifferent as he stood in the void like an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. In the forbidden area of the heavenly devil tribe, the dark sky demon's body let out an earth-shattering scream. Ugh! You human ant, how dare you hurt me? I will definitely make you beg for death. Only then will I be able to vent the hatred in my heart. The body of the dark sky devil god trembled violently. Endless devil chi exploded from his body. A dense aura emerged from his body, causing his aura to become extremely weak in an instant. It was as if he would die at any time due to the exhaustion of his lifespan. The dark sky demon hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. At the same time, his heart was filled with fear. The move that Ling Xiao used to burn his life had also severely injured his body. His birth chart was on the verge of shattering. His projection avatar could no longer hold on and shattered. No, that human ant is too dangerous. If he takes this opportunity to kill me, I'll definitely die. I have to open the passage as soon as possible. When the demon god arrives, I'll be able to escape. The dark sky demon's eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. He looked into the depths of the void in the distance. There seemed to be a pair of eyes watching him from there. Tiango City, in the deep abyss of the earth. Ling Xiao paid a huge price to completely destroy the dark sky devil's projection and severely injure his original body. At this moment, Ling Xiao stood in the air. His hair and beard were all white, and he looked incomparably old. His originally bright and resplendent eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life. However, the 10 demon gods, including the dog-head god, were all frightened by Ling Xiao. They were all terrified, as if they were facing a great enemy. "Young master, why are you like this?" Shui Wei's eyes were filled with anxiety and worry as she hurriedly flew over to support Ling Xiao. Although she did not know what the art of reversing fate was, she could tell that Ling Xiao had paid a huge price to kill the dark sky devil. At this moment, he looked extremely old, like a candle flame in the wind, about to run out of life at any moment. "Don't worry, I'm fine. The dark sky devil god has already been severely injured by me. We must hurry to the heavenly devil tribe to kill him. If we delay any longer, there might be more changes." Ling Xiao smiled faintly, following which, his eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. The art of reversing fate. It is indeed the art of reversing fate. The successor of the divine King Red Dragon has inherited the Aries skill and the art of reversing fate. This guy is destined to be an unparalleled hero in the future. Zhu Ganglai looked at Ling Xiao in awe as he softly muttered to himself. He had experienced the battle 1,000,000 years ago and naturally knew how terrifying the art of reversing fate was. The 10 demon gods from 1,000,000 years ago were all peerless experts in the demon realm. They had endless luck, but in the end, the divine King Red Dragon killed 9 of them and sealed one of them. And the 9 demon gods had died under the art of reversing fate. "Alright." Shui Wei nodded and said, "Kill them." A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. The wordless heavenly scripture immediately soared into the air and shone with a dazzling light. It turned into a vast vortex that engulfed the 9 demon gods, including the dog-headed god. "Despicable human, you deserve to die." The 9 demon gods' faces changed drastically, especially the dog-head god. His eyes were filled with horror. Kaboom! Heaven and earth trembled. Zhu Ganglai also pulled himself together and charged at the dog-head god. The other 8 demon gods' projections were also scared witless by Ling Xiao. They no longer had any desire to continue fighting. Demonic chi rose from their bodies, and they wanted to leave this place. However, the wordless heavenly book sealed the void, leaving them nowhere to run. In the end, the 9 demon gods, including the dog-head god, all died at the hands of Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai. They were devoured and refined by the wordless heavenly book. "Let's go to the heavenly devil tribe." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He left Heavenly Dog City with Zhu Ganglai and Shui Wei and headed for the Heavenly Devil Tribe. The Heavenly Devil Tribe was the strongest force among the 10 demon tribes. It was located in the center of the sealed land and had a total of 20 million people. The dark sky demon god's sealed land was in the abyss of the Heavenly Devil City. When Ling Xiao, Shui Wei, and Zhu Ganglai arrived at the Heavenly Devil City, they realized that the experts of the Heavenly Devil Tribe had already set up a trap under the orders of the dark sky demon god. They were waiting for Ling Xiao and the other 2. The experts of the Heavenly Devil Tribe were as numerous as clouds. There were hundreds of experts above the level of demon generals. Their strength was extremely terrifying. The hundreds of demon generals were arranged in a terrifying battle formation, protecting the heavenly devil city. Master, they are stalling for time. It seems like the dark sky demon god is going to open the passageway at all costs. Looking at the heavenly fiend clan experts who were waiting for him, Zhu Gonglia's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Young master, Zhu Genglai and I will hold them back. You go in and stop the dark sky demon god first. Otherwise, once the passageway is opened, the consequences will be unimaginable. Shui Wei said with a solemn expression. There was a world of difference in combat strength between a demon god who was sealed and a demon god who had escaped the seal. Although Ling Xiao could kill the demon gods easily now, that was because they were sealed by the great demon sealing formation. Their strength was reduced to less than 100%. That was why they died so easily at Ling Xiao's hands. If they really escaped and recovered a certain amount of their strength, Ling Xiao would not be able to escape unscathed, let alone kill them. All right, you guys be careful. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. He instantly used the secret skill of teleportation and rushed toward the heavenly devil city. Stop them. Chapter 1003. Kill. Shui Wei's eyes flashed sharply. The 6 paths of reincarnation soared into the sky. Dazzling sword light rose and turned into a dazzling river, slashing down on the experts of the celestial devil tribe. Kaboom! The heaven and earth trembled and the void shook. The huge 6 paths of reincarnation sword fell. The many strong cultivators of the heavenly devil tribe unleashed their terrifying power at the same time. Endless demonic chi rose up like a curtain of darkness, clashing with the 6 paths of reincarnation sword. Boundless divine light swept out, and a large number of low-level sky fiend clansmen were shaken into a mist of blood under this one attack. Kill! The experts of the heavenly fiend tribe looked at Ling Xiao coldly. They were filled with cruelty and madness. The deaths of their tribesmen did not seem to affect them at all. They had received orders from the dark sky devil to stop the 3 of them, regardless of the price they had to pay. Therefore, they did not hesitate even if they had to pay with their lives. Get lost! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he punched out. Heaven and earth trembled as a huge fist print came crashing down like an ancient mountain, turning tens of thousands of heavenly fiends into dust. Hee hee, you bunch of trash. Take my rake. Zhu Genglai sneered as his 9-toothed rake expanded to tens of thousands of feet long. Black light rose and dense demonic aura rose as it smashed down on the experts of the heavenly fiend tribe. Instantly, groups of experts of the heavenly fiend tribe were killed. Ling Xiao did not continue fighting. After clearing the experts of the heavenly fiend tribe in front of him, he rushed into the heavenly fiend city. He used the secret skill of shifting. Even the experts of the demon general and demon king level could not stop him. With Shui Wei and Zhu Genglai covering for Ling Xiao easily rushed into the heavenly fiend city and headed towards the underground abyss where the dark sky demon was sealed. In the underground abyss, demonic aura rose and exuded an evil and dark aura as though it was the source of all evil. There were 2 demon gods sealed in the underground abyss, the dark sky demon and demon god Wu Jiang. Demon god Wu Jiang was of the same cultivation as Zhu Genglai. Now that he was sealed, he was no threat to Ling Xiao. However, the dark sky demon god was the most powerful demon god in this sealed land. After Ling Xiao entered the underground abyss, he could feel the aura of the dark sky devil. It was like the sun in the sky, vast and majestic. However, the body of the dark heavens demon god exuded a dense aura of death, and its aura was somewhat chaotic. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. He knew that the dark sky demon had been heavily injured by his fate-reversing technique. His original body had suffered extremely severe injuries as well. Otherwise, the dark sky demon would never have been so eager to open the passageway between the 2 worlds. In the endless underground abyss, there were 108 demon sealing tombstones that sealed a terrifying figure that was tens of thousands of meters tall. 108 Devil Seal tombstones, which was also the most powerful Zhou Tian Devil Seal array, could also show how terrifying and powerful the Dark Sky Demon God was. The true form of the Dark Heavens Demon looked extremely horrifying. It was tens of thousands of feet tall and was covered in black scales. Demonic chi rose from its body and it exuded a majestic power. Its 4 limbs were like heavenly pillars and there were 2 black demonic horns on its head. Its face was ferocious and its blood-red eyes were filled with cold and bloodthirsty killing intent. Ant of the human race, you have indeed come. It's a pity that you are too late. The Dark Sky Demon God glared at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with hatred. Above his head, there was a black void vortex that exuded strong void vibrations. It spun slowly as though it led to an unknown space. Ling Xiao's heart sank. He could sense that the void passage was supported by the Dark Heavens Demon God's natal divine power, and it was about to be completed. However, as long as the Dark Heavens Demon God was killed, the void passage would naturally close. Dark Heavens Demon God, after I kill you, the void passage will naturally close. Prepare to die. Killing intent flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes as he charged towards the Dark Heavens Demon God. How could he not tell that the Dark Heavens Demon God was stalling for time, waiting for the void passage to be completed? Perhaps a powerful demon god would descend from the other side. Ling Xiao naturally would not give him the chance to do so. He immediately attacked. Boom! The sky-swallowing sword shone brightly and contained the unparalleled power of the god of war in Ling Xiao's body. It swept across the sky and slashed towards the void passage above the Dark Heavens Demon God's head. Human, you deserve to die. The Dark Heavens Demon God was enraged. Murderous intent filled his eyes as he threw a punch towards the sky-swallowing sword. Originally, if he was given more time, he would be able to open a permanent void passage between the 2 worlds and support the descent of a powerful demon god from the other side. However, as Ling Xiao had severely injured him with the life-reversing skill, he was forced to delay opening the void passage between the 2 worlds. As a result, the divine power in his body was almost depleted. He had also exhausted the divine power that the other 9 demon gods had accumulated over countless years. The power of his godhead had also completely integrated into the void passage. Furthermore, the void passage that he had opened was only a temporary one and he did not know when it would collapse. However, he had no choice but to open the void passage between the 2 worlds at this moment. The Dark Heavens Demon God hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. After this, his cultivation would permanently drop by a large realm. He did not know when he would be able to make up for it. All of this was thanks to Ling Xiao. Rumble! The world quaked as the Dark Heavens Demon God shattered the sword radiance with a single punch. The terrifying demonic chi around him rose, causing the void to tremble. Even though the Dark Heavens Demon God was severely injured, his strength was still extremely terrifying when he went all out. It would not be easy for Ling Xiao to take him down in a short period of time. Kill! Ling Xiao's gaze was cold as he charged forward and threw a punch at the Dark Heavens Demon God. His powerful physical strength burst forth and broke through the demonic chi in the air, arriving before the Dark Heavens Demon God. Bam! Ling Xiao and the Dark Heavens Demon God collided head-on. Instantly, the world quaked as the Devil Seal tombstone around them emitted a blinding light. At this moment, the void passage above the Dark Heavens Demon God's head gave off a mysterious fluctuation. Suddenly, it shone brightly as a mysterious power of law gushed out. The void passage between the 2 worlds was opened. Ha! Human ant, the demon god from the other side is about to descend. You'll definitely die. The Dark Heavens Demon God's eyes were filled with excitement as he roared crazily. The demonic chi around him surged as he charged at Ling Xiao without regard for anything else. Ling Xiao's gaze darkened. He could sense that there were a few terrifying auras on the other side of the void passage. Those auras were not much weaker than the Dark Heavens Demon God. They were vast and terrifying. The situation had reached the most critical moment. Once the demon god from the other side descended upon the sealed land, the consequences would be unimaginable. He had to destroy the void passage between the 2 worlds immediately. There was a hint of madness in Ling Xiao's eyes. The blood in his body began to burn, and his aura began to rise rapidly. A vast and terrifying aura burst forth. He threw a punch at the void passage, and it contained a power that could destroy everything. Chapter 1004. Rumble. Crimson flames rose around Ling Xiao's body as he ignited his bloodline and the power of the god of war in his body. His strength skyrocketed and his punch was unstoppable, causing the void to tremble violently. The passageway between the two worlds seemed like it would shatter at any moment. "Get out of my way!" The dark sky demon's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with chilling killing intent as he threw a punch at Ling Xiao. As long as he could block Ling Xiao's punch, the demonic gods would descend through the passageway between the two worlds. By then Ling Xiao would definitely die. Therefore, the dark sky demon was going all out. His godhead was supporting the passageway between the two worlds. Hence, he ignited the power of the demonic gods around him. This punch was extremely terrifying. "Freeze!" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he suddenly roared. Suddenly, an incomparably mysterious power descended, suppressing the dark sky demonic god's body. It was as though his entire body had stopped moving. It was the mysterious power of time that caused the flow of time to become extremely slow. It was as though time had come to a standstill. This was the power of time. At the critical moment, Ling Xiao had activated the power of time. Boom! Ling Xiao's blood spurted out and he seemed to have turned into a bloody man. It was as though he was being crushed by a mysterious force and his body was about to collapse. Although the power of time was extremely powerful, the dark sky demon was much stronger than Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had used the power of time to imprison the dark sky demon. Hence, he had suffered a great backlash. Ling Xiao's aura became extremely weak and his face was as pale as a sheet. However, the dark sky demon was frozen by him for a moment. It was at this moment that Ling Xiao's punch landed on the passageway between the two worlds. Rumble! It was as though billions of thunderbolts had exploded at the same time. The passageway between the two worlds trembled violently before it exploded. An endless storm of divine light swept out in all directions. The terrifying turbulence in the void was like sharp blades that drowned Ling Xiao and the dark sky demon at the same time. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ling Xiao looked as though he had been sliced into pieces. His body was a bloody mess. Even with the Aries set, he could not withstand the backlash of the power of time. The dark heavens demon god was in an incomparably wretched state. The black scales on his body had burst apart and half of his body had been reduced to dust. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. The dark sky demonic god had gone completely crazy. His eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. He hated Ling Xiao to the core. It was a complete waste of effort. Even Dark Sky Devil did not expect Ling Xiao to use the power of the menstrual cycle at the critical moment. The destruction of the passageway between the two worlds and the destruction of the Dark Sky Devil's many years of planning was all thanks to Ling Xiao. Boom! Endless demonic chi rose behind the Dark Sky Devil and turned into countless powerful weapons. There were terrifying sabers, sharp demonic swords, long spears that could pierce through everything, giant axes that could split the sky and earth. It was like a sea of weapons that came crashing down on Ling Xiao. The demonic weapon realm was the strongest power of the dark sky demonic god. Those terrifying demonic weapons were no weaker than ordinary divine weapons and possessed the power to destroy everything. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with a torrential battle intent as well. He churned the heaven-devouring secret skill and tried his best to suppress the backlash of the menstrual cycle. Forcefully gathering his physical body together, he wielded the heaven-devouring sword and slashed out at the dark sky devil. Under the backlash of the menstrual cycle, Ling Xiao's physical body had already turned into a pile of minced meat. If not for the fact that Ling Xiao was suppressing it, his physical body would have long disintegrated. Even so, Ling Xiao did not give up. The heaven-devouring sword was unstoppable as a snow-white sword light slashed out at the dark sky devil, shattering all the demonic weapons in the sky. Xing! The wordless heavenly book soared into the sky and floated above Ling Xiao's head, turning into a boundless, devouring vortex. It was like a boundless galaxy that devoured all the demonic chi in the surroundings. Even the dark sky devil was shuddering as though he was about to be pulled over by the wordless heavenly book and devoured and refined. Despicable human! You deserve to die. The great dark sky devil will not die. I'll never die. The dark sky devil was in a frenzy as he howled out. He struggled furiously as the demonic chi around him surged, wanting to break free from the shackles of the wordless heavenly book. At the same time, Ling Xiao was channeling the powers of the wordless heavenly book with all his might. Relying on his willpower, he was determined to slay the dark sky devil once and for all. This was an extremely tragic battle. Both Ling Xiao and the dark sky devil were nearing the end of their lives. Ling Xiao's injuries were extremely severe right now. His physical body was suffering from the backlash of the power of time and was almost about to explode. As for the dark sky devil, he was in an even more tragic state. Ling Xiao had destroyed the passageway between the two worlds, causing his godhead to be severely damaged. At the same time, half of his body was shattered. Even though he was struggling with all his might, the powers within his body were still being devoured by the wordless heavenly book bit by bit. If this were to carry on, the dark sky devil would definitely die. The eyes of the dark sky devil let out a look of horror as well. This was the first time he was feeling the shadow of death looming over him. Rumble. Boom. Boom. Suddenly, the void vibrated as a dark and horrifying aura traveled through the passageway between the two worlds that was destroyed by Ling Xiao at an extreme speed. Even though Ling Xiao had destroyed the passageway between the two worlds, that figure seemed to have locked onto the coordinates of this space as it traversed through the void. That dark and evil aura was boundless and was getting stronger by the moment. The void shattered as a gigantic hand of a demonic god grabbed out at Ling Xiao. Haha. Human ant. Even if you've destroyed the passageway between the two worlds, a demonic god has already arrived. This time around you'll definitely die. The dark sky devil burst out laughing as his eyes were filled with excitement and anticipation. As long as a demonic god were to arrive, given Ling Xiao's current state, he would definitely die. At the same time, the dark sky devil would be able to break free. The moment he thought about regaining his freedom, the dark sky devil's heart was filled with excitement. Scram! Ling Xiao's eyes shone with a murderous intent as the heaven-devouring sword shone brightly. It turned into a snow-white Milky Way that soared into the skies and slashed out at the hand of the demonic god. The sword chi that filled the skies exploded as the void turbulence swept out in all directions. The 108 demonic ceiling tombstones trembled violently as though they were about to shatter at any moment. An unparalleled divine power that contained an incomparably domineering and horrifying power of destruction surged forth. Ling Xiao's arm trembled as the heaven-devouring sword flew out of his hand. Ling Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood as his face turned even paler. Boom! The moment the demonic god's hand slammed onto the great demonic ceiling formation of Zhou Tian, a divine light exploded and countless runes shattered. It was as though the great demonic ceiling formation of Zhou Tian had reached its limit. Chapter 1005. Rumble. Black light filled the sky and rose like lightning. It was as if a mysterious power of law was descending. The demonic god's shadow exuded a cold and terrifying aura. It was traversing through the void turbulence, but it had already locked onto the coordinates of this part of the void. If Ling Xiao was at his peak, he might be able to attempt to completely shatter the void and break the demonic god's lock. However, not only was Ling Xiao severely injured, but he was also using the wordless heavenly book to devour the dark sky demon. There was no way he could stop it. The wordless heavenly book's devouring of the dark sky demon's power seemed to have formed a balance with Ling Xiao's severe injuries. The wordless heavenly book's continuous replenishment of power allowed Ling Xiao to persist. Once he stopped, Ling Xiao would not be able to hold on even before the demonic god descended. Therefore, he could only watch as the demonic god traversed the void turbulence and rushed towards the sealed area. Ling Xiao seemed to have fallen into a desperate situation in an instant. Rumble. Just then, outside the great demon ceiling formation in Jotian, the void shattered and an extremely bright sword radiance shot out. It traversed hundreds of millions of miles and contained the power to destroy everything as it slashed towards the demonic god.
What?
The demonic god's angry roar shook the surroundings. Endless demonic chi rose and the world was vast. Chaotic fog filled the air as the huge demonic god's shadow pounced towards the sword radiance. The sword radiance broke through the endless demonic chi like the Milky Way above the 9 heavens, illuminating the endless darkness. It actually sliced the demonic god in half. The world trembled and a void storm erupted, instantly tearing the demonic god's body into pieces. Ling Xiao could feel that the demonic god's primordial spirit was also shattered by the sword radiance. The coordinates of the sealed area that he had locked onto also shattered at the same time. In the endless void turbulence, there seemed to be a colorful passageway that led to a distant and unknown world. Resplendent light spread out. A woman in a red dress stood in the endless primordial chaos with an ancient sword in her hand. Her red dress fluttered like fire, and she gave off a peerless aura. Her face was very cold. She was shrouded by a layer of light, making it impossible to see her face clearly. However, her bright and resplendent eyes stared into the distance, piercing through the boundless space and landing on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao also looked at the woman in red. Their eyes met. Ling Xiao's entire body began to tremble. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Jin Sei, Ling Xiao softly spat out these 2 words. His heart was filled with excitement, and his eyes were filled with joy and anticipation. Although he couldn't see the woman's face clearly through the endless void, he knew that it was Jin Sei. The figure that he had yearned for day and night, the figure that he had missed for tens of thousands of years, the hope and motivation that kept him alive, had appeared. Ling Xiao stared blankly at Jin Sei's figure and smiled softly. Jin Sei, wait for me. I'll find you soon. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. For some reason, Ling Xiao suddenly felt that Jin Sei's figure standing in the chaos was so lonely. She had traversed hundreds of millions of miles with her sword, killing countless demon gods. However, Jin Sei had probably stood guard for tens of thousands of years. 10,000 years was too long. Although Ling Xiao had only been reincarnated for a few short decades, his yearning for Jin Sei had already seeped deep into his bones. Yet, Jin Sei had stood guard in the Origin Sea alone for tens of thousands of years. Just how lonely must she be? Ling Xiao's heart ached at the thought of this. Rumble. Spatial turbulence surged and the passage completely collapsed. Even the coordinates of the sealed land had disappeared. In just a few moments, the chaotic mist rose and obscured Ling Xiao's vision and the peerless figure. However, at the last moment, Ling Xiao saw Jin Sei smile. That smile caused the world to change color. It was a soul-stirring beauty that was forever engraved in Ling Xiao's heart. Moreover, Ling Xiao saw Jin Sei's lips move slightly as if she was saying something. Although he couldn't hear anything, Ling Xiao understood what Jin Sei wanted to say. It was just 4 simple words. Brother Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's body trembled violently. His nose twitched and tears flowed uncontrollably, blurring his vision. Jin Sei, you are my Jin Sei. I will definitely find you. Ling Xiao suddenly shouted like a madman. He shouted himself hoarse as if he was venting something. Although Ling Xiao knew that Jin Sei couldn't hear him, he still shouted. Ever since he saw the spiritual supremacy's statue in the reincarnation realm, Ling Xiao was most afraid that the current Jin Sei was no longer the same Jin Sei. However, those 4 words made Ling Xiao's face fill with tears and made his heart tremble. Finally, Ling Xiao could put down the worries he had for many days. He knew that Jin Sei was still Jin Sei. As long as he knew this, it was enough. Although the dark sky demon didn't know who Jin Sei was, he knew that he was completely done for. A demon god was about to descend into this world, but he was killed by that terrifying sword strike and his hope was completely extinguished. It's over. A trace of despair appeared in the dark sky demon's eyes as he muttered to himself. Rumble. The wordless heavenly book was boundless and its powerful devouring power instantly suppressed the dark sky demon. Because of the death of the demon god, his heart was filled with despair. How could he resist the power of the wordless heavenly book? Under Ling Zhao's full power, the dark sky demon struggled violently, cursed, and begged for mercy, but Ling Xiao ignored him. Not long after, the dark sky demon was enveloped by the devouring vortex of the wordless heavenly book. Shui Wei and Zhu Ganglai had unknowingly arrived at the underground abyss. They stood outside the great demon sealing array in Zhou and stared blankly at Ling Xiao, who was in the array. Ling Zhao's hoarse voice also fell into Shui Wei's ears. Shui Wei stared blankly at Ling Xiao and a trace of sadness appeared in her eyes. Sigh. What is love in this world? It makes people pledge their lives to each other. The word love was something that all living beings could not understand. What a boring emotion. Girl, you like your young master, don't you? Zhu Ganglai sighed softly and glanced at Shui Wei. Nonsense. Don't spout nonsense. How am I worthy of young master? Besides, young master already has Sister Jean Sei in his heart. Shui Wei's face turned red instantly and she jumped up like a kitten whose tail had been caught. Her embarrassment turned into anger. Chapter 1006. Zhu Ganglai, you're not allowed to talk about young master like that. I'm going to fall out with you if you say that again. Shui Wei said angrily. I won't say it anymore. Hee. Zhu Ganglai immediately surrendered and chuckled as he looked at Ling Zhao's figure in Zhou Tian's great demon sealing array. Ling Xiao did not hear Shui Wei and Zhu Ganglai's words. He had already fallen into a mysterious state. He did not even realize that the dark sky demon had been completely devoured by the wordless heavenly book. He sat cross-legged in the void, exuding a deathly aura. His flesh and blood had withered, and he seemed to have turned into a mummy. However, a new life force was being nurtured in his body. Just like that, Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the great demon sealing formation as if he had been destroyed. In the end, after the wordless heavenly book completely refined the dark sky demon, it turned into a stream of light and fused into his glabella. Ling Xiao still did not wake up. The underground abyss was extremely huge. In another part of the great demon sealing array, demon god Wu Jiang was terrified. He was afraid that Ling Xiao would kill the dark sky demon and then it would be his turn. However, he did not expect Ling Xiao to be severely injured as well. He seemed to have fallen into a deep coma. Demon god Wu Jiang heaved a sigh of relief. He did not dare to make the slightest movement, for fear of alerting this malefic star. If that happened, it would really be over. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged there for a month, but there were still no signs of him waking up. Moreover, the deathly aura on Ling Xiao's body was getting thicker. If Shui Wei had not sensed some life force from Ling Xiao, she would have thought that he was dead. Zhu Ganglai, I originally thought that young master was cultivating. However, it seems that something is wrong. Hurry up and see what's wrong with him. Shui Wei had already taken down the 108 devil seal tombstones. She looked at Ling Xiao and said anxiously. Shui Wei checked Ling Zhao's body but could not see what was going on. There seemed to be a power in Ling Zhao's body that blocked all probing. Zhu Ganglai took a closer look at Ling Xiao. There was a trace of uncertainty in his eyes as he said, Is this the nirvana of life and death? But that's not right. He's only in the mortal realm. How can he reach this level? It was too strange. Little girl, Master should have fallen into a mysterious state of cultivation. We must place him in a place where the energy of life and death is extremely dense. Perhaps it can speed up his transformation. A place where the power of life and death is extremely dense? Then it can only be the Yellow Springs sacred river. Shui Wei's eyes flashed as she said slowly. The Netherworld sacred river formed by the origin of the realm of Samsara? That was a good place. It was indeed filled with rich life and death energy. However, it was too chaotic. Ordinary people couldn't refine it at all. Let's leave this place and bring Master to the Yellow Springs sacred river. Zhu Ganglai said. All right. Shui Wei immediately nodded. As for the remaining 8 demon gods that were sealed, they could not be bothered with them now. Since the dark sky demon god was dead, They should not be able to cause any more trouble in the short term. The most important thing now was to treat Ling Zhao's injuries. Moreover, they had been here for 4 months and the reincarnation ceremony was about to begin. They had to return to the Samsara temple as soon as possible. Shui Wei carried Ling Xiao and gently kept him in her small world. Then she left the sealed place with Zhu Ganglai. There was an extremely powerful sealing force outside the sealed place. Even if a demon god left the great demon sealing formation, it would be difficult for him to leave the sealed place. However, the 6 paths of reincarnation sword was the key to opening the seal. That was why Shui Wei was able to bring Zhu Ganglai out of the sealed place. After being sealed for 1,000,000 years, I'm finally free. Zhu Ganglai's eyes were also filled with excitement. Let's not waste any more time. Let's hurry back to the Samsara temple. Shui Wei glared at Zhu Ganglai and said angrily. Through the Samsara temple, they could directly enter the Yellow Springs sacred river. Shui Wei only hoped that Ling Xiao could wake up as soon as possible. Hee little girl, don't worry. Master has the wordless heavenly book. He carries the fate of heaven and earth. He won't die. Zhu Ganglai chuckled. However, he still followed Shui Wei back to the Samsara temple. Zhu Ganglai was proficient in the art of disguise. At this moment, he had turned into a good-natured fatty. He was smiling and looked very amiable. No one would have guessed that he was a demon god of the demon race. Although Zhu Ganglai had been subdued by Ling Xiao, Shui Wei did not intend to tell the people of the Samsara temple. Firstly, it would prevent panic. Secondly, it would prevent the news from leaking out. Under the guidance of the 6 paths of reincarnation sword, Shui Wei and Zhu Ganglai crossed the Origin Sea and quickly returned to the Samsara temple. The news of the Saintess return quickly spread throughout the Samsara temple. The great elder, Zhu Biao, Pangu Zhan, and the others all arrived. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. They had high hopes for Ling Xiao and Shui Wei. They hoped that they would be able to obtain news of the great defeat of the demon race from them. Shui Wei also gave a brief summary of the great defeat of the demon race. However, she did not mention anything about Zhu Ganglai. She only said that Zhu Ganglai was one of Ling Zhao's subordinates. Even though Shui Wei only gave a simple summary, it was enough to stun everyone in the Samsara temple. Ling Xiao had slaughtered 5 million demon boar demons, 2 million demon dog demons, and even killed the boar demon god, the dog demon god, the golden-horned demon god, the silver-horned demon god, the bronze-horned demon god, and the dark sky demon god. This news was like a dream to everyone. The great elder, in particular, knew better than anyone else how powerful and terrifying the demon gods were. The dark sky demon god, who was said to be the strongest in the sealed grounds, had died in Ling Zhao's hands. Ling Zhao's strength made all of them feel a sense of reverence. Could it be that Ling Xiao had become a true god? Saintess, Ling Xiao is the benefactor of the Samsara temple and the entire Samsara world. It seems like we will be able to wipe out all the demon race in the sealed grounds this time. The great elder said excitedly. His eyes were wet with tears. He was the most loyal to the mission of the Samsara temple. It was his responsibility to wipe out the demon race. This was something that the ancestors of the Samsara temple had failed to accomplish. How could he not be excited now that he was about to accomplish it? That's right. The demon race in the sealed grounds is no longer a threat. However, young master is also severely injured this time. I will bring him to the netherworld's sacred river to heal. After the reincarnation sacrificial ceremony, we will wipe out all the demon race in the sealed grounds. Shui Wei said to the great elder. All right, Saintess, bring Ling Xiao to the netherworld's sacred river. We will prepare for the reincarnation sacrificial ceremony. This time, no matter what, we have to kill that traitor Yin Jiutian. Chapter 1007. The main stream of the netherworld's sacred river was vast and mighty. It gathered from all over the reincarnation realm and formed a vast river. It passed through layers of void and finally flowed into the Origin Sea. The Samsara temple was located at one of the nodes of the main stream of the underworld's sacred river. It was because of the power of the underworld's sacred river that the Samsara temple was able to produce so many experts and suppress the sealed ground. The entire Samsara temple was filled with excitement and hope. Ling Zhao's slaying of the demon god had lifted their spirits and swept away the depression they had been feeling for the past few days. The entire Samsara temple was preparing for the upcoming reincarnation's sacrificial ceremony. Meanwhile, Shui Wei brought Ling Xiao to the underworld's sacred river. The main stream of the underworld's sacred river was a huge river that was a few million miles long and a few thousand miles wide. It was like a vast ocean. Rumble. Waves rose from the underworld's sacred river and swept up the sky. It was majestic and contained the rich power of life and death. Shui Wei carried an ancient sword on her back and her white dress fluttered in the wind. She stood by the bank of the underworld's sacred river and shouted, "Grand Bijou, Shui Wei is here to see you." Boom. Not long after, the underworld's sacred river became even more turbulent. The endless water rose and then parted to the sides. A powerful aura filled the air and a giant beast emerged from the underworld's sacred river. The giant beast was shrouded in water vapor and its figure could not be seen clearly. However, its eyes were like blood moons and emitted a cold glint. This was the reincarnation beast. After seeing Shui Wei, the reincarnation beast's cold eyes softened. He said slowly, "So it's Shui Wei. Shui Wei, what business do you have with Grandpa Zhu?" The reincarnation beast's voice was like thunder. It was deafening and made people tremble. Shui Wei smiled and carried Ling Xiao out of the small world. She smiled and said, "Grandpa Zhu, this is Ling Xiao and also my young master. He killed the 6 demon gods in the sealed ground. However, he was severely injured and needs to heal in the underworld's sacred river. I have to prepare for the reincarnation's sacrificial ceremony. I want Grandpa Zhu to take care of him for me." Ling Xiao? Is he the human brat I brought here? Was this nirvana of life and death? How could a worldly realm human be able to experience the nirvana of life and death? It's so strange. The reincarnation beast looked at Ling Xiao with its cold eyes. Instantly, it revealed an extremely shocked expression. "Grandpa Zhu, can you see anything?" Shui Wei asked expectantly. "There's a mysterious power in his body that prevents me from probing. I can't check the situation in his body either. However, he does need to recuperate in the Yellow Springs sacred river. Don't worry, leave him to me." The reincarnation beast said slowly. "Thank you, Grandpa Zhu." Shui Wei said sweetly. The reincarnation beast's body moved slightly. Suddenly, a wave of water swept across the sky, lifting Ling Xiao up and slowly sending him into the Yellow Springs sacred river. Shui Wei looked at Ling Xiao's lifeless body and a trace of worry appeared in her eyes. She muttered to herself, "Young master, recuperate well. I'll wait for you to wake up." With that, Shui Wei turned around and left. Under the protection of the reincarnation beast, Ling Xiao sank into the depths of the Yellow Springs sacred river. The Yellow Springs sacred river was unfathomable. Ling Xiao had already sunk tens of thousands of feet and had yet to reach the bottom. However, there was already an extremely dense life and death energy below. It formed a huge undercurrent that swept towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. At that moment, Ling Xiao's body flashed and emitted a dazzling 5-colored glow. Suddenly, the river water around him surged and formed a huge devouring vortex. In the Yellow Springs sacred river, streams of life and death energy surged towards his body. Ling Xiao was like a bottomless pit that did not reject any of it. He swallowed the endless life and death energy. Behind Ling Xiao, divine light spewed out and the void trembled. It was as if a phoenix's cry could be heard. A 5-colored phoenix that was reborn from the fire appeared, exuding an extremely mysterious aura. Ling Xiao's body also began to undergo a very strange change. His body instantly withered and died. It was as if all the flesh and blood in his body had been sucked dry, leaving only a layer of flesh wrapped around his golden bones. Then, it swelled up in an instant. His flesh and blood were crystal clear like jade, emitting a brilliant light. Life and death, withering and flourishing. Life and death intertwined, withering and flourishing. This was a mysterious state that could also be called nirvana. The reincarnation beast who was observing Ling Xiao was also shocked. He muttered to himself in disbelief, "This is the nirvana of the true phoenix? That's not right. This kid has the bloodline of the dragon clan. How can he perform the supreme secret skill of the phoenix clan? The powers of the dragon and the phoenix oppose each other and cannot be merged. How did this kid do it?" The reincarnation beast became more and more curious about Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had indeed performed the nirvana of the true phoenix. In the battle between the heavenly devil tribe and the dark sky demon, Ling Xiao had performed the art of reversing fate and forcefully activated the power of time. He had suffered a backlash from the power of time and was on the verge of dying. Even though the wordless heavenly book had completely devoured the dark sky demon and infused the pure power into Ling Xiao's body, it could not heal his injuries completely. Therefore, at the last moment, Ling Xiao performed the nirvana of the true phoenix and entered a state of suspended animation to suppress the injuries all over his body. However, the nirvana of the true phoenix required a large amount of energy, especially when Ling Xiao was in such a state. His life origin was almost depleted and he needed a large amount of life essence. If Shui Wei had not brought Ling Xiao to the netherworld's sacred river in time, Ling Xiao would not have been able to last long in such a state. This was the main vein of the netherworld's sacred river. It contained the purest power of life and death. Ling Xiao refined the power of life and death using the reincarnation mystique and the sky-devouring secret skill. He could extract the purest life essence to replenish his own consumption. Ling Xiao was like a person on the verge of dying of thirst who had encountered an oasis of life in the desert. Therefore, he began to refine the power of life and death without restraint to replenish his injuries and consumption. Ling Xiao's injuries this time were even worse than the injuries he had sustained in the reincarnation sea. The backlash from the power of time had almost destroyed Ling Xiao's divine soul. Ling Xiao finally understood. Of the 3 great inheritances left behind by the Scarlet Dragon War God, he could barely cultivate the War God formula, but for the menstrual cycle and the life-reversing technique, he would need to break through to the divine spirit realm to be able to use them. The power of time and the power of fate were the most mysterious and taboo powers in the world. All living beings in the world lived in the endless river of time, and they all had their own destinies. Chapter 1008. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body glowed brightly, and behind him, chaotic fog appeared. The images of the true dragon, phoenix, white tiger, and black tortoise appeared, making him look majestic and mysterious. Ling Xiao swallowed and refined the vast power of life and death, turning it into life essence that merged into his body. Ling Xiao's body had already been shattered by the backlash of the power of time. At this moment, under the nourishment of the boundless life essence, his entire body glowed as new flesh and blood grew. His meridians were as thick as dragons, and his body became even more powerful. Just like that, Ling Xiao cultivated in seclusion in the underworld's sacred river. His injuries gradually healed, and his cultivation aura grew stronger. 3 months had passed, and Ling Xiao still hadn't woken up from the underworld's sacred river. Shui Wei had also come over a few times. She saw that Ling Xiao's aura was stable and growing stronger. She could feel that Ling Xiao's injuries were getting better, and she was relieved. "Young master, tomorrow is the reincarnation ceremony. But looking at your current situation, I'm afraid you won't be able to participate in the reincarnation ceremony." Shui Wei's white dress fluttered in the wind, and her face was beautiful. Her beautiful and bright eyes stared at the vast underworld's sacred river in a daze as she muttered to herself. "But don't worry, young master. I will definitely kill Yin Jiutian and those traitors in the reincarnation ceremony this time. The calamity of heaven and earth is coming, and I can't let these evil people continue to cause trouble." Shui Wei's eyes were filled with determination as she said, "Young master, I will bear the responsibility of protecting the living beings in this world. I also hope that young master can wake up as soon as possible so that you can find Sister Jean Sei. She has been waiting for you for 10,000 years." Shui Wei's long eyelashes fluttered, and her cold eyes flashed with a trace of weakness. She looked a little sad as she said slowly, "Young master, maybe you don't know, but ever since I was 5 years old, when you chased away those bad guys who bullied me and bought me a stick of candied haws, I decided that I would follow you in the future and take care of you. I won't let anyone hurt you. Now, young master, you have Sister Jean say, Shui Wei is a little sad and reluctant, but I can't be so selfish. As long as young master can be healthy, happy, Shui Wei will be satisfied." A smile suddenly appeared on Shui Wei's face. This smile made the world lose its color. It was extremely bright, as if it had turned into eternity. "Young master, you must be happy. Shui will pray for you and Sister Jean say." Shui Wei turned around and glanced at the vast netherworld's sacred river. Her eyes were filled with longing and reluctance, but in the end, they turned into a brilliant smile and drifted away. Rumble. The waves of the Yellow Springs sacred river surged as the reincarnation beast slowly emerged. It sighed and said, "What a silly girl. Brat, what makes you think you are worthy?" The reincarnation beast glanced at Ling Xiao, who was at the bottom of the Yellow Springs sacred river. In the end, it laughed bitterly and fell silent. In the depths of the Yellow Springs sacred river, Ling Xiao's cultivation had reached a critical moment. After 3 months of cultivation, his physical body was flawless. His divine power was vast and majestic, and his primordial spirit was clear. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th-level Supreme Realm. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the 9th-level Supreme Realm. Vast and majestic life and death energy flowed into Ling Xiao's body, making his aura stronger and stronger. Ling Xiao's white hair had turned black. He was enveloped in a dazzling divine light. He looked valiant and his body glowed. He was like an indestructible divine king, undergoing the final transformation and sublimation. The next day, the reincarnation ceremony began. The entire Samsara temple became extremely solemn and solemn. The doors of the Samsara temple were tightly shut. Vast chaotic fog rose and dazzling runes filled the air. Everyone in the Samsara temple, including Shui Wei, the Great Elder, Pangu Zhan, Zhu Biao, the Reincarnation Army, and the experts of the Pangu clan, stood in the square in front of the Samsara temple. They were all solemn and silent, exuding a heavy and vast aura. Under Shui Wei's control, the 6 paths of reincarnation sword turned into a rainbow bridge that stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. It pierced through the layers of void and connected to the reincarnation great world. The reincarnation ceremony had yet to begin, but only the abysmal emperor and the 10 kings were left. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A group of figures with powerful auras flew over from the rainbow bridge and landed in front of Shui Wei in an instant. The 3 people in the lead bowed respectfully to Shui Wei and said, "Greetings, Saintess. The ceremony is about to begin. Please forgive us for being late." Shui Wei smiled faintly and said, "King Qingguang, King Chujiang, and King Songdi, there's no need to be so courteous. Please rise." "Thank you, Saintess." The 3 of them stood up and said. King Qingguang was a middle-aged man who wore a black dragon robe, a flat imperial crown, and a pair of cloud-treading boots. He looked very dignified. His eyes were deep and vast, and he exuded the aura of a superior. King Chujiang wore a green Taoist robe. His face was clear and he looked very calm. His temperament was extraordinary, and he exuded an otherworldly aura. King Songdi wore a white dragon robe and a jade crown. He looked as gentle as jade, and he had a smile on his face that was like a spring breeze. It was easy for people to have a good impression of him. Behind the 3 of them was a group of experts with powerful auras. There were a few young men and women with powerful cultivation and extraordinary temperaments. They were the children of the 3 kings who had come to watch the ceremony. Standing behind King Chujiang was Chu Qianqian, whom Ling Xiao was very familiar with. She wore a black armor and had a very hot figure. She looked valiant and extraordinary, but she seemed a little listless. The 3 kings were supporters of the Samsara temple. That was why they stepped on the bridge of the 6 paths reincarnation divine sword and came here. However, the princes behind the 3 of them were a little rude. A few of the young geniuses looked very arrogant, and they stared at Shui Wei without hiding it. Their eyes lit up. Shui Wei's white robe fluttered in the wind. Her face was beautiful and her eyes were cold. She was like a fairy who had descended from the 9 heavens. She had a peerless aura that naturally stunned them. Humph! This kind of unreasonable action made the great elder, Pangu Zhan, and the others frown. Pangu Zhan's temper was the most fiery. He snorted coldly, and those young geniuses immediately felt a rumble in their sea of consciousness. Only then did they shift their gazes away with an ugly expression. King Chujiang's expression was still calm. Although King Qingguang and King Songdi did not say anything, they frowned slightly. Shui Wei saw the actions of these people but did not say anything. Although King Qingguang, King Chujiang, and King Songdi still supported the Samsara temple, it was hard to tell what they would do in the face of death. Especially with Yin Jiutian's influence and the 7 kings under him, they might not be optimistic about the Samsara temple's chances in this Samsara sacrificial ceremony. Chapter 1009. At this moment, the void shattered. A black stone platform broke through the void and appeared. It gave off an ancient and vast aura. It was extremely powerful. Above the stone platform stood a group of figures with terrifying auras. Each and every one of them possessed an extremely powerful cultivation. All of them were at the Supreme Being realm and above. Their gazes were filled with arrogance as they looked down on the crowd, appearing extremely rude. The leader of the group was a young man in a black robe. He sat on a huge dragon throne. The black-robed young man looked very handsome, and his aura was extraordinary. Especially his eyes, they were ancient, deep, and vast. It was as if they contained a mysterious vortex that wanted to swallow everyone up. He looked a little unruly. He held a crystal cup in his hand and slowly drank the wine in it. His gaze was indifferent as he looked down at everyone. It was as if he didn't care about anyone. Finally, his gaze landed on Shui Wei, and a hint of passion appeared in his eyes. However, the people of the Samsara temple were instantly enraged. Yin Jiutian, you are too presumptuous. Why don't you come over and greet the saintess? Pangu Zhan stared at Yin Jiutian and said with cold, killing intent in his eyes. The young man in the black robe was Yin Jiutian. Although he looked young, he was an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands of years. If it were not for Yin Jiutian, the Pangu clan would not have suffered such a great loss. The 6 figures standing behind Yin Jiutian had powerful auras. They were all half-step to divine spirits. They were the other 6 kings. Greet? In a while, the saintess will marry me and become my empress. Even if you have to salute, it should be you who salutes me. Yin Jiutian said with a smile. He looked casual and frivolous. The black stone platform landed on the square. Yin Jiutian was still sitting on the dragon throne. The experts behind him stared at the people of the Samsara temple arrogantly. Bastard! Shameless! Yin Jiutian, you want to marry the saintess? You are courting death. You are just a servant of the saintess. You deserve to die for offending her. The experts of the Samsara temple could not help but curse at Yin Jiutian. Their eyes were full of anger. Yin Jiutian's eyes flashed with killing intent. Suddenly, a few rays of divine light flew across the sky. They contained a cold killing intent and were extremely fast. Shui Wei also noticed Yin Jiutian's killing intent. She wanted to stop him, but it was too late. The glabella of the experts from the Samsara temple exploded. With a flash of blood, their primordial spirits were obliterated by Yin Jiutian. The experts of the Samsara temple were shocked and furious. They did not expect Yin Jiutian to kill the experts of the Samsara temple. Those experts were all half-step supreme beings. To be able to kill several half-step supreme beings with a single glance, this kind of strength was truly incomparably terrifying. Especially King Qingguang, King Chujiang, and King Songdi, their eyes became serious. Yin Jiutian's strength was beyond their imagination. Even the 3 of them could not kill these people so easily. Yin Jiutian was trying to establish his dominance. Shui Wei's eyes flashed coldly. She stared at Injyoten and said, Injyoten, you are too presumptuous. This is the samsara sacrificial ceremony. It is not your place to behave atrociously. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword was shining brightly. It floated above Shui Wei's head and emitted a peerless sharpness. It locked onto Injyoten, as if it was going to launch a killing blow at any time. Injyoten's expression was still indifferent. The black stone platform under him shone brightly and emitted a force that could resist the 6 paths of reincarnation sword. The samsara platform. The black stone platform was one of the 2 supreme treasures of the samsara temple, the samsara platform. After the reincarnation platform was snatched away by Injyoten, he had completely refined it after so many years of refining. Holy maiden, you really don't understand the situation. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you know what's good for you, you'd better marry His Majesty and hand over the control of the samsara temple to him. Otherwise, the entire samsara temple will be wiped out. Beside Injyoten, a young man with a pale face and cold eyes said coldly, You're Lu Yen. Lu Yen, you deserve to die for betraying the samsara temple. This time, I will definitely kill you. The first elder's eyes flashed with killing intent. He immediately recognized the youth's aura. It was the second elder, Lu Yen. Although Lu Yen had died, he had left half of his primordial spirit to be reincarnated. The first elder was naturally familiar with his aura. Old man, you can't even protect yourself. How dare you threaten me? His Majesty's power is beyond your imagination. If you know what's good for you, surrender immediately. Otherwise, all of you will die. Lu Yen said with a cold smile. Shui Wei stared at Injyoten and said coldly, Injyoten, don't think that you can stop the great samsara oath just because you've refined the samsara platform. When the ancestor spirits arrive and the samsara sacrificial ceremony begins, you will definitely die for violating the great samsara oath. Definitely die? Holy maiden, you are really childish. How could a mere great samsara oath be able to stop me? I'll give all of you a chance today. If you marry me and they submit to me, I can spare your lives. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be a bloodbath today. Injyoten sneered and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He had been waiting for this day for far too long. The thought that he could become the master of the entire reincarnation world from this day onwards, or even go one step further and ascend to godhood made him extremely excited and expectant. Don't even think about it. Injyoten, this is the samsara temple. It's not your place to behave atrociously. The first elder and Pangu Zhan said angrily. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. So, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit? Injyoten said flatly. The people behind him suddenly exuded a powerful aura and suppressed the experts of the samsara temple. Rumble. The void shook and heaven and earth trembled. 2 majestic and cold killing intents collided. It seemed that a great battle would break out at any time. At this moment, the void suddenly shattered. Chaotic mist filled the air and the sky trembled. Mysterious lightning flashed and a group of ghost soldiers in ancient armor walked down slowly from the 9 heavens. They were in a neat and strange formation. In the middle of them, a huge bone dragon and bone phoenix were pulling a huge bronze coffin. They were flying towards the bronze divine palace. Here. The first elder's eyes were filled with excitement and awe. He began to tremble. Even Injyoten and the others had a serious look on their faces. At this moment, the entire samsara temple was silent. Chapter 1010. The Yin soldiers cleared the way and the dragon and phoenix pulled the coffin. If Ling Xiao were here, he would have noticed that the Yin soldiers, bone dragons, and bone phoenixes were the same as the ones he had seen in the great world of War God. But somehow, they had come to the samsara temple. The Yin soldiers moved through the chaotic fog in an orderly manner, surrounded by bolts of black lightning. They protected the huge bone dragons and bone phoenixes as they pulled the bronze coffin towards the samsara temple. Rumble. The samsara temple shone brightly. Streaks of green divine light swept in all directions. Endless chaotic fog rose and divine light filled the air. It was so bright that no one could open their eyes. At this moment, Shui Wei, the great elder Injutian, and the 10 lords all watched with solemn eyes. They did not say a word as they watched the Yin soldiers move towards the Samsara temple. But everyone knew that the Samsara ceremony had finally begun. The Samsara ceremony was not only a symbolic ceremony. It was also a ceremony for the Samsara temple to gain control over the demon race. It was also a ceremony for the 9 Serenities Emperor and the 10 lords. The 9 Serenities Empire and the 10 lords were originally the servants of the first Samsara saintess. Therefore, the 9 Serenities Emperor and the 10 lords were the saintess subordinates. The Samsara ceremony was held once every 10,000 years. Every time, there would be Yin soldiers clearing the way and dragons and phoenixes pulling the coffin. Everyone believed that the person in the bronze coffin was the first Samsara saintess. Under the witness of the first Samsara saintess, the new saintess controlled the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and the Samsara platform. She supervised the new 9 Serenities Emperor and the 10 lords to swear the Samsara oath and accept the rule of the Samsara temple. Only then could they inherit and integrate the power of the Godhead. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and the Samsara platform were the foundation of the great Samsara oath. Controlling these 2 treasures meant controlling the life and death of the 9 Serenities Emperor and the 10 lords. Unfortunately, the saintess disappeared 10,000 years ago. The Samsara temple was severely damaged by the demon race. Moreover, there was a traitor and the Samsara platform was stolen by Injutian. Although Injutian could resist the restrictions of the great Samsara oath with the help of the Samsara platform, he would have to obtain the 6 paths of Samsara sword during the Samsara ceremony and become the true owner of the Samsara shrine in order to break free from the great Samsara oath forever. The reason why the other 7 kings chose to side with Injutian was that he had the reincarnation platform. Now that 10,000 years had passed, the Samsara ceremony was about to begin again. This was a chance for them to get rid of the Samsara temple completely. None of them wanted to miss it. Saintess, when the Samsara temple opens, Injutian will definitely snatch the 6 paths of reincarnation sword. You must be careful, and you must not let him succeed. This is also a good opportunity to reclaim the reincarnation platform. The first elder transmitted his voice to Shui Wei. There was a hint of worry in his eyes. Injutian was now known as the most powerful man in the Samsara world. He was extremely powerful. It was said that even if the other 7 kings joined forces, they might not be able to defeat him. The saintess of the previous generation had lost her godhead, and Shui Wei was only a titled supreme. It would be extremely difficult for her to defeat Injutian. The first elder could only pray that Ling Shao would wake up soon. In the first elder's opinion, only Ling Shao, who could kill demon gods, was qualified to fight Injutian. Don't worry, first elder. Injutian will definitely die. Shui Wei said slowly. There was a hint of determination in her cold eyes. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently. The Yin soldiers were not slow at all. Soon, they arrived in front of the Samsara temple. Everyone held their breaths and looked expectantly. The entire Samsara temple shone brightly. Chaotic mist surged and mysterious runes appeared on the temple. Finally, they turned into a ray of divine light that shot up to the sky. It was extremely bright. The gate of the Samsara temple opened with a loud bang. Dazzling light spewed out as the Yin soldiers slowly stepped into the temple. Kacha! At this moment, the huge bronze coffin opened instantly. The huge coffin lid opened with a loud bang. Rays of divine light rose up and countless mysterious scenes appeared. Buzz! At this moment, the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand trembled violently. They emitted mysterious waves. Finally, they shot up to the sky and floated above the huge bronze coffin. A mysterious Sanskrit chant sounded. It contained a power that could make heaven and earth tremble. King Qingguang, King Chujiang, King Songdi and the other 6 kings involuntarily knelt down in front of the huge bronze coffin. At the same time, a ray of divine light shot out from the top of their heads and gathered above the huge bronze coffin. Except for King Dusher, who was killed by Ling Xiao, the other 9 kings were all here. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand above the huge bronze coffin immediately attracted everyone's attention. As long as one could control these 2 treasures, he would become the true master of the Samsara temple. He would be able to control the Jiuyu Empire and the 10 kings and become the only ruler of the Samsara realm. In the past, there was no suspense. Only the saintess could refine these 2 treasures. However, there were changes in the Samsara ceremony this time. The reincarnation stand was out of her control. Therefore, Yin Jiutian had the ambition to become the master of the Samsara temple. The Samsara ceremony has finally begun. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand are both mine. Saintess, if you marry me, I can spare your life. Otherwise, all of you will die today. Yin Jiutian laughed heartily, his eyes full of scorching light. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. Yin Jiutian, don't even think about it. As long as I'm here, you will never be able to control these 2 treasures. Shui Wei's eyes flashed sharply as she flew towards the huge bronze coffin. You're overestimating yourself. You're just a titled supreme. Now that you don't even have the 6 paths of reincarnation sword, how can you fight with me? Yin Jiutian sneered and flew towards the Samsara temple as well. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand seemed to be undergoing some kind of baptism. They shone brightly. The marks left on them by Shui Wei and Yin Jiutian disappeared. The 2 treasures seemed to be ownerless. Yin Jiutian and Shui Wei were waiting for this change to end so that they could fight for control of the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand. Everyone, get ready to kill the rebels and protect the saintess. The first elder and Pangu Zhan shouted at the same time. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Kill the rebels and protect the saintess. Chapter 10-11. The great elder, Pangu Zhan, Pangu Wen, Pangu Yen, and Pangu Zhen all came to the giant bronze coffin and looked at the 6 palace kings cautiously. They might not be able to intervene in the battle between Shui Wei and Yin Jiutian, but they had to stop the 6 palace kings for Shui Wei to have a chance. Everyone was anxious and looked forward to Ling Zhao's appearance. Zhu Ganglai silently stood behind Shui Wei. He looked very simple and honest. He was smiling, and there was not a single ripple of cultivation on his body. However, Yin Jiutian could feel a strong threat from Zhu Ganglai, and he could not help but look at Zhu Ganglai a few more times. Lass, I'll help you stop this bastard later. Does he think that he can marry you just because of that? He's a toad that wants to eat swan meat. Wishful thinking. Zhu Ganglai said to Shui Wei through voice transmission. As long as Shui Wei could obtain the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand and refine them, Yin Jiutian would have no choice but to surrender. Okay. Shui Wei replied through voice transmission. She had gained some confidence in herself. Zhu Ganglai was a powerful demon god, and his strength was gradually recovering after he escaped. It should be easy for him to stop Yin Jiutian, who was a demigod. But for some reason, Shui Wei had a bad premonition. She suppressed the distracting thoughts in her mind and looked at the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand calmly. Her body was exuding a vast and majestic aura. Rumble. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand were dazzling above the giant bronze coffin, exuding rays of divine light that surrounded it like divine chains. The entire Samsara temple was trembling slightly, as if some kind of power had been strengthened. Shui Wei, Yin Jiutian, and the others could not understand this change, as if it was beyond their perception. However, Zhu Ganglia's eyes showed a hint of shock. What a big move, it's really a big move. Zhu Ganglia's heart trembled. He could vaguely see something, and the truth shocked him greatly. The change did not last long. After about half an hour, the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand trembled slightly, and the connection between them and the giant bronze coffin slowly disappeared. Come here. A sharp light flashed in Yin Jiutian's eyes. He reached out his hand toward the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and the reincarnation platform at an extremely fast speed. Shui Wei's eyes were deep and resplendent as well. She extended her hand, and her slender fingers were as translucent as jade. She slashed down with her palm, and immediately, a vast amount of 9 underworlds qi gushed out. It contained an extremely cold force, as if it wanted to freeze everything. Shui Wei and Yin Jiutian collided with each other. Both of them trembled and retreated at the same time. Kill! At this moment, the experts of the Samsara temple charged toward Yin Jiutian's men. The kings of the 6 palaces who were originally kneeling on the ground wanted to rush up and attack Shui Wei, but they were stopped by the great elder and several supreme experts of the Pangu clan. A great battle broke out in an instant. Girl, I'll help you stop this bastard. A cold light flashed in Zhu Gonglie's eyes. The 9-toothed rake in his hand shone brightly and struck down toward Yin Jiutian with a terrifying force. What? Yin Jiutian's expression changed. At this moment, Zhu Ganglai exuded a power that frightened him. It was the true power of the divine path. It was majestic, mysterious, and superior. Boom! A light flashed in Yin Jiutian's hand, and a dazzling black dragon-shaped saber slashed toward Zhu Ganglai. Sparks flew in all directions, and heaven and earth shook violently. Yin Jiutian felt an unparalleled divine power coming toward him. He was thrown back dozens of feet, and his body trembled slightly. This is the power of a deity. Who the hell are you? Yin Jiutian stared at Zhu Ganglai with cold eyes. He did not expect Zhu Ganglai to be a real deity. The power was so vast and majestic that even he could not resist it. A half-step to divine spirit who has refined the divine spark has the power of a deity. How did you do it? Zhu Ganglai looked at Yin Jiutian in surprise. Although Zhu Ganglai was in the realm of a true god, he had been sealed for millions of years. His power was almost depleted, and it was difficult for him to recover completely in this world. Therefore, he only had the combat power of a divine spirit. However, Yin Jiutian's combat power had surpassed the half-step to divine spirit. It was almost the same as a divine spirit expert, which surprised Zhu Ganglai. Yin Jiutian's eyes shone with a black light, as if there was a dark vortex flashing. He sneered and said, "So what if you are a deity? Whoever dares to stop me today will die. Even if you are a deity, I have killed one before." Rumble. Yin Jiutian was surrounded by a murderous aura. A majestic divine power rose, and the dragon-shaped saber in his hand shone brightly. It was as if it had turned into a black dragon, and it flew toward Zhu Ganglai. At this moment, Shui Wei took the opportunity to fly toward the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand. As long as she obtained the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand, and refined them, she would be able to control the situation here. Then Yin Jiutian would definitely die. However, Yin Jiutian was still charging toward Zhu Ganglai. He did not stop Shui Wei, but there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Zhu Ganglie's expression suddenly changed and he shouted, "Oh no, girl, be careful of those 3 guys." Boom. As soon as Zhu Ganglie's voice trailed off, King Qingguang, King Chujiang, and King Songdi threw a punch toward Shui Wei. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. King Songdi immediately stopped King Chujiang. King Qingguang and King Songdi had betrayed them. This was beyond everyone's expectation. Even the great elder and the people of the Pangu clan did not expect that King Qingguang and King Songdi, who had always been loyal, would betray the Samsara temple. Shui Wei, who was about to grab the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand, was alerted. She felt a cold, murderous intent behind her. Without hesitation, she moved to the side with a flash of light around her. However, King Qingguang was the most powerful of the 10 kings. He had been planning this attack for a long time, and it contained a terrifying destructive power that was enough to kill a titled supreme being. Boom! Dazzling runes flashed on Shui Wei's body, and a powerful defense shield rose. It was a powerful defense treasure of the Samsara temple. However, under King Qingguang's all-out attack, the defense shield only lasted for a moment before it exploded. King Qingguang's fist landed on Shui Wei's shoulder. Shui Wei trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as a sheet of paper. She flew hundreds of feet away and fell on the bronze coffin. Chapter 10-12. King Qingguang, King Songdi, how dare you betray the saintess? Damn it! King Chujiang roared. His eyes were filled with disbelief and anger. Even he did not expect that King Qingguang and King Songdi would choose to betray him at this moment. It had to be said that the timing was too good. No one could react in time. Brother Chu, a wise man submits to circumstances. The Samsara temple is destined to be destroyed. His Majesty is destined to be the ruler of the Samsara world. Why are you so stubborn? Why don't you join me and pledge allegiance to His Majesty? You will be rewarded handsomely. King Songdi said sinisterly. His eyes were filled with complacency. King Songdi, you deserve to die. King Chujiang's eyes were filled with rage. An ancient red sword appeared in his hand. The sword chi rose and slashed towards King Songdi. At the same time, King Chujiang blamed himself. He was close to King Qingguang and King Songdi. They had been friends for many years. He had repeatedly promised that King Qingguang and King Songdi would be loyal to the Samsara temple. However, he did not expect the two of them to betray him at this moment. Brother Chu, since you cannot see the situation clearly and insist on perishing with the Samsara temple, I will fulfill your wish. King Songdi's eyes were filled with killing intent. He threw a punch at King Chujiang. Rumble! The heaven and earth trembled as the two of them engaged in a fierce battle. King Qingguang, I did not expect that you would choose to betray the Samsara temple. Shui Wei said coldly as she looked at King Qingguang. She was not angry about King Qingguang's betrayal. She was just a little disappointed. Now that Yin Jiutian was powerful, 7 of the 10 kings had chosen to betray the Samsara temple. Shui Wei had thought that King Qingguang, King Chujiang and King Songdi would be different from the rest and would be more persistent. However, she did not expect that King Qingguang and King Songdi would choose to betray the Samsara temple. Saintess, a wise man submits to circumstances. You are too weak. If you had the strength to defeat everything, we would not have dared to betray you. You can only blame yourself for being too weak. King Qingguang smiled faintly with a sharp glint in his eyes. King Qingguang, with me around, no one will get the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and Samsara platform. Shui Wei wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and slowly stood up. Black light rose around him, and there seemed to be an extremely cold air behind him, causing the void to seem to be frozen. A cold killing intent locked onto King Qingguang. What no one noticed was that when Shui Wei's blood landed on the bronze coffin, it actually slowly melted into the bronze coffin. Not long after, it disappeared. Rumble! Behind Shui Wei, there seemed to be a black ocean appearing. She blasted out with her palm, and the black ocean rose up, blotting out the sun as it pressed down on King Qingguang. That black ocean was Shui Wei's overflowing divine power. It contained an incomparably terrifying power, causing King Qingguang's expression to change. Qingguang Wang was a demigod who had fused with a godhead. He thought it would be easy for him to take down Shui Wei, but he did not expect Shui Wei to emit such a dangerous aura. Boom! King Qingguang Wang did not dare to take Shui Wei's palm head-on. With a flash of light in his hand, a black ancient seal appeared with 9 black dragons coiling around it. This was King Qingguang Wang's lineage's inherited divine weapon, the coiling dragon seal, which contained the power to suppress everything. The power of extreme coldness surged through the air and collided with the coiling dragon seal. The coiling dragon seal shone brilliantly, and the 9 black dragons seemed to want to soar into the sky and attack Shui Wei. However, they were swept up by the Black Sea and were instantly sealed in ice. Shui Wei's black hair fluttered in the wind, and her temperament was extraordinary. She flew across the sky, and the black ocean behind her rose up and charged at King Qingguang. Break! The fear on King Qingguang's face grew as he channeled the full power of the coiling dragon seal to fight against Shui Wei. Rumble! The sky shook, and divine light swept out in all directions, but it was all frozen by the black energy. Shui Wei slapped down with her palm, and the palm print was like an ocean, pouring down like a torrential flood. It turned into black ice swords and stabbed at King Qingguang. 10,000 swords descended, and their sharpness was unparalleled, as if they were going to turn everything into dust. Boom! The coiling dragon seal shone brightly and floated above King Qingguang's head. It was like an immemorial divine mountain, and it blocked the ice swords that filled the sky. However, each ice sword emitted a trace of extremely cold energy. In the end, hundreds of millions of rays of extremely cold energy gathered and froze the coiling dragon seal. King Qingguang's expression changed, and he wanted to retreat quickly without hesitation. However, Shui Wei's figure was like a black ray of light, and she appeared in front of him in an instant. Then she pressed down on his chest. King Qingguang's chest caved in, and a vast amount of ice-sealing divine energy surged into him, freezing him in an instant. Just as Shui Wei was about to kill King Qingguang, the center of King Qingguang's eyebrows shone brightly, and a vast amount of godhead power erupted, dissolving the ice-sealing divine energy in an instant. King Qingguang's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He quickly retreated. "You're just a titled supreme being. How can you be so strong?" King Qingguang's eyes were filled with disbelief. At that moment, Shui Wei was like a goddess of ice. Her entire body was filled with boundless ice-sealing divine energy. Moreover, that ice-sealing divine energy contained a dark energy, as if it could make one sink into eternal darkness. If King Qingguang's godhead hadn't erupted at the critical moment, he would have died in Shui Wei's hands. Shui Wei's eyes were cold, and she didn't pay any attention to King Qingguang. Her palm glowed, and the ice-sealing divine energy in the sky gathered, forming a huge silver sword in the void. Then, it came slashing down on King Qingguang. Damn it! King Qingguang's face darkened, and he immediately activated the coiling dragon seal to meet the attack. Bang! The coiling dragon seal's divine energy was unparalleled, and it instantly shattered the huge silver sword. However, the ice-sealing divine energy in the sky gathered again and froze the coiling dragon seal again. Moreover, under Shui Wei's control, the coiling dragon seal came crashing down on King Qingguang's head. Break! King Qingguang felt the terrifying divine energy, and his face turned ghastly pale. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura instantly weakened. However, that mouthful of blood turned into a flame, and it directly melted the ice-sealing divine energy on the coiling dragon seal. Then he quickly withdrew it. In the battle between King Qingguang and Shui Wei, he had thought that he would be able to defeat Shui Wei quickly. However, he was actually at a disadvantage, and it seemed that he would be defeated at any time. Yin Jiutian, who was fighting with Zhu Ganglai in the distance, saw this scene and immediately shouted coldly, "Trash!" Boom! Yin Jiutian's body glowed brightly, and a blue bead appeared in his palm. The bead was dazzling, and it seemed to contain a mysterious world. I originally prepared this for Ling Xiao. Now you're out of luck. Chapter 10:13. Rumble. The blue bead shone brightly and exuded a strong spatial fluctuation. It seemed to contain a vast and mysterious world that was about to swallow Zhu Ganglai. This is the formation orb? Zhu Ganglia's body shook, and a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. The formation orb was a powerful secret treasure that was refined by a divine array master. It had a space of its own and was filled with murderous intent. Anyone who was devoured by the formation orb would be killed by the terrifying power of the formation orb. Even if they could resist the power, they would be imprisoned in the formation orb forever, unable to escape. The formation orb was the combination of array doctrine and weapon doctrine. This kind of treasure could only be found in the God world. However, during the Great Calamity 1,000,000 years ago, many experts of the demon race died in the formation orb. Yin Jiutian must have found this formation orb from some ruins. Boom! Black light rose around him as a powerful divine power erupted, trying to resist the formation orb's devouring power. However, the power of the formation orb was too strong. Even Zhu Ganglai could only resist for a moment before he was devoured by the formation orb. Inside the formation orb, a blue divine light rose and turned into a terrifying murderous intent, shrouding Zhu Ganglai in an instant. Zhu Ganglai kept resisting the terrifying power inside the formation orb, but there was no way for him to escape. What? Shui Wei's expression changed slightly. Zhu Ganglai's combat strength was comparable to Ling Xiao's, but he was imprisoned by the formation orb. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation platform are mine. None of you can take them away from me. Ha! Injutian laughed loudly and his eyes were filled with excitement. Sush! He instantly leaped forward and grabbed the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation platform. Stop! A cold light flashed in Shui Wei's eyes. She gave up on King Qingguang. She was surrounded by terrifying ice-sealing divine power and slammed her palm toward Yin Jiutian. No matter what, she could not let Yin Jiutian get the 2 treasures. Get lost. Yin Jiutian's eyes were cold as he threw a punch at Shui Wei. He was determined to get the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stage. He would kill anyone who dared to stop him. Divine power surged around him. This punch contained a power that could shatter everything. It was terrifying and boundless. In an instant, it collided with the ice-sealing divine power that filled the sky. Rumble! The void shook violently. Shui Wei's ice-sealing divine power exploded in an instant, turning into streams of flowing light that shrouded Yin Jiutian. Clang! Yin Jiutian struck out with his saber. The light was dazzling, and the saber river fell from the sky. The streams of light were crushed by the saber light. A divine light storm gushed out and swept out in all directions. Shui Wei and Yin Jiutian both trembled and retreated. Yin Jiutian's expression didn't change, but Shui Wei's face became extremely pale, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. I was wondering how a titled Supreme Master could unleash such a powerful ice-sealing divine power. It turns out that you have used some kind of forbidden skill. Let's see how long you can hold on. Yin Jiutian's eyes revealed a trace of mockery. He clenched his fist, and his divine power surged. His cold killing intent locked onto Shui Wei, and he threw out a punch. Crack! The void trembled as a gigantic fist imprint converged in the void, forming a black mountain that was vast and majestic. You can try. Shui Wei wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes became brighter and brighter. She struck out with her palm, and a black ocean surged, as if it was going to freeze the whole world. It rushed toward Yin Jiutian with great momentum. The ice-sealing divine power that Shui Wei had used was not a power that she could control now, nor was it a forbidden skill that Yin Jiutian had mentioned. It was the power of Shui Wei's bloodline. In the past, Ling Xiao had discovered that Shui Wei had the 9 nether bloodline. However, after coming to the Samsara Temple and becoming the Samsara Saintess, the power of Shui Wei's bloodline became stronger, as if some kind of power was slowly awakening. This kind of power could freeze everything, and it contained a terrifying power of destruction and darkness. Shui Wei called it the ice-sealing divine power, but she didn't know where it came from. This kind of power was far beyond Shui Wei's control. However, the Samsara Temple was in a critical situation, and she could only forcibly activate the ice-sealing divine power to fight against King Qingguang and Yin Jiutian. However, as the ice-sealing divine power grew stronger, Shui Wei's control began to falter. Rumble! Heaven and earth trembled violently, and the Black Mountain was instantly sealed in ice. A terrifying destructive power erupted, and the fist imprint instantly exploded. Shui Wei rushed forward, and her eyes were cold. Her white dress fluttered in the wind, and she had an unparalleled temperament. Her slender fingers slapped across the air, and it seemed as if there was no power at all. Bang! Yin Jiutian also punched out, but his expression changed instantly. The terrifying ice-sealing divine power spread from his arm to his entire body, as if it was going to destroy his vitality. Yin Jiutian's body shook violently, and he hurriedly activated the power of the Godhead to stop the ice-sealing divine power from spreading, and he quickly retreated. Swoosh! At this moment, King Qingguang also rushed over and attacked Shui Wei together with Yin Jiutian. They could see that the ice-sealing divine power was not a power that Shui Wei could control. If this went on, Shui Wei would definitely suffer from the backlash, and then it would be their chance. The battle of the Samsara temple seemed to have reached the most critical moment. In the netherworld's sacred river, Ling Zhao's body shone brightly, and he sat cross-legged in the turbulent water. His body seemed to be cast in gold, and he was gorgeous and mysterious. Rays of light shot out from his body, and divine chains of order connected to the depths of the void, and he was absorbing the power of the void. In such a long time, the wordless heavenly book had almost completely devoured the power of life and death in the netherworld's sacred river. Of course, the effect was extremely obvious. Ling Xiao had completely recovered the life origin that he had lost, and even the 9,000 years of his life that he had burned had been completely recovered. Moreover, after this serious injury, Ling Zhao's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme Realm. He was only one step away from reaching the titled Supremacy Realm. More importantly, Ling Xiao had cultivated the heaven-devouring secret skill and the secret skill of the ancestral dragon to the peak of the human Tao, and he was only one step away from the immortal state. If he could break through to the 4th level of the heaven-devouring secret skill and condense the heaven-devouring divine sea, he would be able to become a god. If he could break through to the 6th level of the secret skill of the ancestral dragon and condense the body of the divine dragon, he would be able to become a god. Moreover, Ling Xiao had found his direction, and it would not be long before he could break through the peak of his previous life and become a god in the human world. Chapter 10:14. Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao. An old but deep voice rang in Ling Zhao's ears, awakening him from his strange state of cultivation. Swoosh! Ling Xiao opened his eyes, and two bright and majestic light beams shot out, causing the void to tremble violently. An old man with white hair and a white beard appeared in front of him. He was dressed in linen clothes and held a walking stick in his hand. He looked extremely benevolent, and his old eyes were filled with deep and wise radiance. "You are the reincarnation beast?" Ling Zhao's eyes lit up. He could sense that Shui Wei had sent him into the netherworld's sacred river, and he could also sense the aura of the reincarnation beast. The old man in front of him should be the reincarnation beast. That's right. I am Zhu Lan, the clan leader of the reincarnation beast clan. Ling Xiao, it's time for you to come out of seclusion. The reincarnation sacrificial ceremony has begun, and Yin Jiutian is coming. Shui Wei won't be able to hold on for much longer. Zhu Lan sighed softly and said slowly. He looked at Ling Xiao in amazement. He could see that Ling Zhao's cultivation was only at the 9th rank Supreme Realm, and he had not even reached the titled Supreme Realm. However, he had a power that made his heart tremble. The young man in front of him was unfathomable, and he might be the only one who could save Shui Wei. What? Yin Jiutian, he really wants to die. A cold light flashed in Ling Zhao's eyes, and he exuded a monstrous killing intent. Thank you for your information, Elder Zhu. I'll take my leave first. Ling Xiao cupped his fists at Zhu Lan, turned around, and moved rapidly toward the Reincarnation Temple. The Reincarnation Temple. King Qingguang and Yin Jiutian besieged Shui Wei. Although Shui Wei's eye-sealing divine power was powerful, it was not a power that she could control at the moment. Hence, she was gradually losing strength. Boom! Heaven and earth shook violently. Shui Wei slapped her palm, and the vast ocean filled the sky. It turned into streaks of sharp eye-sealing sword qi that shrouded King Qingguang and Yin Jiutian. King Qingguang's eyes were filled with fear. He did not dare to take the eye-sealing sword qi head-on, so he activated the coiling dragon seal and smashed it down. Crack! The sword qi of ice shattered and turned into extremely cold divine power of ice. It wanted to freeze the coiling dragon seal, but King Qingguang was already prepared. Almost instantly he retrieved the coiling dragon seal and retreated rapidly, leaving the range of the divine power of ice. Yin Jiutian took this opportunity to throw a punch at Shui Wei. The fist print was so vast that it seemed to be able to smash everything into pieces. Shui Wei's eyes were cold and her white robe was fluttering in the wind. She looked like a goddess from the 9 heavens, exuding a peerless aura. However, her face was very pale. The black ocean behind her surged and suddenly pressed down on Yin Jiutian. Boom! Yin Jiutian activated the power of the godhead with this punch. It was extremely powerful. When it collided with Shui Wei's fist, the heaven and earth trembled violently and a blazing divine light storm was formed. Yin Jiutian's body trembled, and he flew out in an instant. Shui Wei's face turned pale and she spat out a mouthful of blood. The ice-sealing divine power contained an extremely cold power that could freeze everything. It was also extremely dark and could harm both the user and the opponent. When Shui Wei used the ice-sealing divine power to fight against Yin Jiutian, her body was also severely injured. At this moment, after a series of battles, Shui Wei could not hold on any longer. She suffered the backlash of the divine power of ice and her aura became extremely weak. Shui Wei, I advise you to surrender. As long as you are willing to be my queen, I can spare the lives of everyone in the Samsara temple. Otherwise, everyone will die today. Do you have the heart to see them die because of you? Yin Jiutian sneered. He could already tell that Shui Wei was extremely weak at the moment. The ice-sealing divine power around her had already become somewhat dim. If this continued, Shui Wei would be defeated by him sooner or later. Don't even think about it. There was a glint in Shui Wei's eyes. Her face was full of stubbornness. The black ice-sealing divine power around her surged and shone brightly. In an instant, a black ancient sword was formed in her hand. The ancient sword was extremely sharp and seemed to be able to pierce through everything. It instantly slashed toward Yin Jiutian and King Qingguang. You are overestimating yourself. Yin Jiutian sneered and a trace of cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. Although Shui Wei's sword strike appeared to be extremely powerful and dazzling, and the sword qi that was tens of thousands of feet long swept through the void as if it wanted to seal everything in ice, Shui Wei's sword strike was extremely powerful. However, Yin Jiutian could see that the power of the sword was extremely scattered. This meant that Shui Wei could no longer control the divine power of ice. She was at the end of her rope. Divine light rose behind Yin Jiutian and the phantom of an Archean ferocious beast appeared. It traversed the heavens and had 3 heads. Its eyes were filled with bloodlust and cold killing intent. Yin Jiutian punched out and the Archean ferocious beast pounced toward Shui Wei. Rumble! The heavens and the earth shook violently. Shui Wei's divine sword of ice hit the Archean ferocious beast but did not shatter it. Instead, the Archean ferocious beast grabbed the huge divine sword of ice and tore it apart. The 10,000 feet long ice-sealed divine sword instantly exploded. The primordial ferocious beast's baleful aura filled the sky as it suddenly pounced toward Shui Wei. Oh no! That is the Cerberus of Hell. The first elder's face instantly turned extremely pale as he roared. The demonic qi surged and everyone saw the Archean ferocious beast clearly. It was a ferocious beast that looked like a heavenly dog. Its body was covered with black scales and its limbs were like pillars that supported the sky. It was filled with killing intent and it had 3 heads. Its huge eyes were like blood moons. It had a snake tail and its body was filled with black ferocious qi as if it could corrode everything. This was the Archean ferocious beast, the Cerberus of Hell. The legendary Cerberus of Hell could even fight with the divine beast White Tiger and the real dragon. It was extremely powerful. No one had expected that Yin Jiutian could condense the real body of the Cerberus of Hell. Rumble! The ice-sealing divine power that filled the sky exploded, and a terrifying divine light storm swept out in all directions. Shui Wei was immediately unable to withstand the power, and her thin and weak body was sent flying. The Cerberus of Hell roared and pounced toward Shui Wei. The blood-red eyes reflected Shui Wei's pale and pitiful face. Am I going to die just like that? What a pity! I won't be able to see young master again. Shui Wei sighed in her heart. She felt the threat of death but she was not afraid. She was only filled with regret. Shui Wei's heart was filled with longing and reluctance when she thought of that handsome face and the young man named Ling Xiao. Chapter 10:15. Rumble. At this moment, the void exploded with a loud bang. The divine light that filled the sky swept out in all directions. Chaotic turbulence filled the air, and the world trembled. The resplendent golden glow illuminated the world. A vast and terrifying golden fist instantly swept across the sky. It was like an ancient divine mountain that was tens of thousands of feet tall. It violently slammed into the body of the three-headed hellhound. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled as if a golden divine sun had exploded. The body of the three-headed hound of hell exploded into a rain of light in an instant. However, the punch didn't lose its momentum. It contained a monstrous domineering aura and divine power, and collided fiercely with Yin Jiutian's fist. Who is it? Yin Jiutian's expression changed as he felt a terrifying force coming toward him. He trembled and was thrown back dozens of feet by the terrifying force. His chi and blood were in turmoil. Golden light fell from the sky and dazzling divine light shone from the 9 heavens. A figure walked toward them. It was a young man who looked perfect. He had a handsome face and jade-like skin. He was slender and strong and was surrounded by golden dragons. He looked majestic and mysterious. His robe was as white as snow and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a peerless divine king who had descended to the mortal world. He exuded an otherworldly aura as if he was the center of heaven and earth. Everyone could not help but tremble when they saw him. His eyes were like the brightest stars and the deep and vast starry sky. They contained everything in heaven and earth and the vast universe. No one dared to look into his eyes. Bang, bang, bang. He walked down from the 9 heavens. Every step he took seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. There was a strange rhythm that made everyone's blood boil. At this moment, he seemed to have become the celestial emperor who ruled over all beings. Everyone in the Samsara temple fell silent and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Young master? Shui Wei's eyes were filled with disbelief and surprise. She couldn't help but exclaim softly. The figure in front of her was like a divine king and celestial emperor. It was the person she had been thinking about day and night, Ling Xiao. It's Ling Xiao? Pa. Lord Ling Xiao is back. The saintess is saved. The Samsara temple is saved. Everyone from the Samsara temple exclaimed in surprise. Then, their faces lit up with joy. The eyes of the first elder, Zhu Biao, Pangu Zhan, and the others were filled with hope. Their bodies were trembling in excitement. Unknowingly, everyone saw Ling Xiao as their hope. As long as Ling Xiao was there, they would be filled with endless confidence. How could a man who could even kill a demon god be afraid of a mere Yin Jiutian? Ling Xiao? He really was Ling Xiao. I didn't expect him to be so strong. Chu Qianqian stared at Ling Xiao without blinking. Her beautiful eyes were filled with splendor. Yin Jiutian's face darkened instantly. He glared at Ling Xiao and said, "You are Ling Xiao? I didn't expect you to be so lucky to actually survive. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, you will die too." Yin Jiutian's words were full of cold, killing intent. A vast aura locked onto Ling Xiao, as if Yin Jiutian would attack Ling Xiao at any time. However, to everyone's surprise, Ling Xiao did not even look at Yin Jiutian. Instead, he walked toward Shui Wei. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with pity. He said slowly, "Shui Wei, I'm sorry that I'm late. Today, let young master bring you along to kill them all, okay?" Ling Xiao carried Shui Wei carefully. His voice was incomparably gentle and his face was filled with a doting smile. Shui Wei nodded vigorously. She felt a great surge of joy and happiness in her heart. However, tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. "Ling Xiao, you're courting death." Yin Jiutian's eyes revealed a trace of chilling killing intent. Ling Xiao's disregard for him had completely enraged him. It had to be said that Ling Xiao's appearance was indeed shocking. Even Yin Jiutian was stunned. However, when he saw that Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Supreme Realm, Yin Jiutian felt as if he had been cleansed. He could not help but fly into a rage. A mere 9th level of the Supreme Realm brat. Even if his combat strength was strong, what could he do? How dare he disregard the 9 Nether Emperor? He deserved to die. Rumble. A chilling killing intent filled the air. It contained a dark and evil aura and locked onto Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao raised his head and glanced at Yin Jiutian indifferently. I don't need to know who you are and I don't care who you are. You hurt Shui Wei, so you have to die. Ling Xiao said calmly as if he was stating a fact. Yin Jiutian was so angry that he laughed and said, Good, very good. Ling Xiao, you're really arrogant. Today, I'd like to see what right you have to be so arrogant in front of me. Boom. Yin Jiutian could not hold it in any longer. Terrifying divine power gathered around him, and he threw a punch at Ling Xiao. Heaven and earth trembled violently. Yin Jiutian's punch contained a boundless dark aura. It was as if there were endless gloomy winds and the howling of ghosts. It also contained a trace of power that could confuse one's primordial spirit. It was as if it could make one sink into it forever. Ling Xiao's face was calm, but his eyes were extremely cold. He held Shui Wei in one hand and clenched his other hand into a fist. Golden divine power gathered around him and hundreds of millions of dragon roars were heard. The mighty dragon power was unparalleled and it suppressed Yin Jiutian. The terrifying dragon roars shook the sky. When Ling Xiao threw a punch, there were 18 seven-colored divine dragons that contained the power to tear everything apart. They rushed toward Yin Jiutian at the same time. Each seven-colored divine dragon had the power of a half-step divine spirit. 18 seven-colored divine dragons were equivalent to 18 half-step divine spirits rushing toward Yin Jiutian at the same time. Yin Jiutian's expression changed when he saw the monstrous killing intent. This was the ultimate physical strength, which had reached the limit of what Ling Xiao's body could bear. If he wanted to unleash a stronger physical strength, he would have to cultivate the body of a divine dragon to become a god. This punch was already at the peak of the human Tao. The sublime power made everyone tremble involuntarily. The terrifying fist imprint exploded, illuminating the resplendent sky. The fist imprints all over the sky exploded, turning into a resplendent rain of light. Ling Xiao's punch seemed to have the power to crush everything. When it collided with Yin Jiutian's fist, Yin Jiutian's body trembled. His arm was filled with 18 layers of terrifying power. Then Yin Jiutian's arm exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Yin Jiutian's expression changed drastically. He felt that the 18 layers of divine power were about to rush into his body. He immediately cut off one of his arms and moved away instantly. Boom! You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.